are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday after the college football season has come to an end, come to a slobber knocking end. Hide the women and children end.
I think there was just another painful downfield block given, David.
Woo-wee.
I left you alone. I know you had a long flight, and I know you got in long before the game started, but you were gone for a couple of days. I tend to leave you alone after that. But I almost started texting you during the game, wondering just how much you were enjoying guys
kicking the tar out of each other.
Yes, that.
My mother texted me to tell me how boring it was. I didn't want to get into an intellectual discussion with her about what is boring to you is me slobbering watching this game.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I struggled with a little bit of that third quarter, and I figured you were just frothing at the mouth during the third quarter.
Well, I got to admit, all right, I did doze off during halftime.
Halftime will do it to you. They're long, David.
They are long, and it took a while. We didn't get to half till 10 to 10, and we're coming out of half. It's damn near 10 after 10. So little jet lag and all that. I woke up. Alabama was in the process of a long drive.
Seemed to be the trend.
Yeah, that was the third quarter. A couple of long Alabama drives.
It was the first half a little bit too. The Alabama had the long drive. They couldn't get 6 and kept kicking field goals, and Georgia kept them from getting into the end zone. But it did not change the fact that game was played at as physical of a level as you will see the sport played at.
Certainly for Saturdays.
That's
no question about it. That was big time, as they say nowadays, Mark, physicality.
Yeah, it was big boy football is what
yes,
it was.
It was.
It really was.
And I understand that. I'm sure a few people didn't like it. Never mind the fact that it was an all SEC thing. And then you got the Florida fans who didn't like it because of, they don't like either team, but they really don't like the one team. And then that team ended up winning.
And while I believe everything we talked about yesterday, about the pressure that Georgia had on them, about the nerves that Georgia was going to have, I thought their fan base would even be nervous. That was when Alabama came on the field and you could hear boos, I went, well, damn. All right, Bama. Now do it with a road game, too, because everybody that bought a ticket that wasn't a Georgia fan is rooting for Georgia loudly. And you keep taking out receivers, sooner or later, Georgia's going to be able to find a way to win. I definitely think the injuries affected Alabama greatly. It was obvious.
Yeah, no question. No question. I mean, not having Mechie, we thought it was going to hurt them, and it did. Then when they lose Williams and Early, and the inexperienced wide receivers, quite frankly, were not able to step up. I mean, I thought Bryce Young had about 8 really good passes that would have been corralled that weren't caught. And some of them were really big plays. And you got to think some of those field goals, 1 or 2 of those drives ends up touchdowns if they had Williams, never mind if they had Williams and Mechie.
Right. I'm not even going to count Mechie in it because he was gone for the game. But when Williams went out, you obviously saw a little bit of difference there. I'll tell you what, Bryce Young's really good.
Oh, man. Woo. I think you can pencil it in right now. First pick of the 2023 draft.
Oh, yeah. If there's a way to pull a Red Auerbach and draft him this year, as he did with Larry Bird so many years ago, I would find the way to get that done.
I mean, those that have wanted to years in advance tank for someone, he's a little guy too. He's not tall and he's skinny. All right. So he's going to be another Alabama quarterback like Tua. You're going to see him on Sundays and you're going to go, man, he's little. I don't know what to tell you. He's going to play big. He is terrific.
They were blowing him up too.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. He's tough.
He got hit He got sandwiched one time in the first half with a little high-low action on a hit that, he got the ball downfield, and when that hit happened, I've kind of jumped out of my chair and went, oh, and, I'm waiting to see if he's getting up, and by the time they show him, he's bounced up.
You hurt his hand, too?
Yeah, he's a stud. Listen, he got the tar beat out of him by Auburn. The tar beat out of him by Auburn. And then he leads that 90-plus yard drive with no timeouts in the final minute plus. I mean, he's a stud. 31, I mean, my goodness, might have been the best player on the field. It's funny. They probably had the two best players on the field. Now, Georgia had a lot of other guys in between, but they probably had the two best players on the field, Alabama.
It's funny. I got a text from an old friend before the game that just said, "Go Dogs."
There you go.
Somebody from Michigan who's not an SEC person.
Got it.
And I know he watches more Big Ten football than SEC football, and his son's playing low-level college ball, so I'm guessing he's not home watching Bama every Saturday. And early on, he goes, now, who's this player they keep saying is the best player on the field? And I said, 31. The next text was, this MFer goes sideline to sideline. And I'm like, yes, yes, as a matter of fact, he does.
Yeah.
And then there was a running stream of text as the game was going on, going, then the questions start coming. This guy didn't go to New York, and the Michigan guy did. Yep. That's the power of the Big Ten. The Michigan brand can get someone a Heisman opportunity rather quickly when things go well and you beat Ohio State. But Will Anderson is a stud.
And both Anderson and Young ineligible for the draft. They have to come back for one more year. You know what we would do? Okay, we'd wrap them in that wrap and send them to IMG. You can just go work out for the year, son. There's no need for you to play anymore. Okay, you're going 1 and you're going probably 2 or 3.
Somewhere before 5.
Right. There's really no reason for you to play anymore.
Just depends how many other quarterbacks are out there that will draw interest from teams. But you will not be waiting around before you hug Mr. Goodell. That's all I am going to tell you.
You know me. I think every fan base should have a parade. All right. Thrilled for Kirby. I mean, come on. He went to Georgia. I mean, that was his job. 7 years at Alabama under Nick. He was going to leave for one job. That one. It comes open. He sits down. He said, this thing not going to be easy. I'm just letting you know. I mean, let me tell you what we used to think about you guys over there, okay? We got a long way to go.
That's why he thanked Alabama very early on in the interview.
Yep.
Make no mistake. He goes, that Alabama, they do a really good job over there, and if we wouldn't, that's where and if I wouldn't have been there for 7 years and learned every single thing that they do, and could write down on a piece of paper to the Georgia administration what we need to get this trophy, then it would have never happened. Because I did, they listened, and they did it.
And
still don't know how to pick a quarterback, but we got a natty.
But we got a natty, and you know what? Stetson Bennett will never have to pay for anything in his life, and we got our Kurt Warner story, and it's great. It's awesome.
And it is a great story.
It is. It's fantastic. I mean, he tried really hard to kill him last night, but made a couple of throws and stayed out of the way for the most part. But, man, we are never going to see a team win a national championship again with a quarterback that's that pedestrian. Yeah. But, hey, it's an awesome story. Kid grew up, there, dreamed of being a dog. We all know by now, the walk-on. Got benched last year through the 4 interceptions against Florida. Probably never going to be seen or heard from again. Next thing you know, he's the backup this year. JT gets hurt.
Oh, we'll hear from him again. I imagine 8 to 10 years from now, all of a sudden, Stetson Bennett, Georgia's quarterback coach.
Well, you know what I think it's going to be? Who's doing the Georgia games?
Oh.
Okay. I mean, Buck Bellew had a great run, 41 years till someone else could win.
You're darn right.
Run,
Lindsey, run. I made one short pass. He ran a long way, and I got a lifetime out of it.
Handed the ball off to Herschel about 700 times, and, it's worked really well for me. So I could see Stetson Bennett, if he wants, doing color commentary on the Georgia games on the radio.
There's no doubt that job is there for him if he would like it. great for him. I thought it was great. He got the little interview with Holly there, and she said, what about other than walking? I don't know. Just won a national title. Do you think I care about some 8-year-old right now? My goodness gracious, Holly, do better.
I thought he was going to.
I thought he was great.
I thought he was going to pull the line that they do in the NFL. I'm going to Disney World or what have you.
He should have. He will.
So finally, someone other than Alabama. All right. Although LSU's had a couple of titles, but it's 12 and 16 years, by the way, for the SEC. Just let that just marinate for a second. That's 12 out of the last 16.
By the way, early odds for next year are out. Both Georgia and Alabama are the
right
favorites to win next year's national championship, both at around 2-1 right now.
So how about them Dogs? They got it done, scored the last 20 points of the game. For those of you who either turned it off or fell asleep or didn't watch, it was Alabama 9-6 at the half. It was Alabama 18-13, early moments of the fourth quarter. And then, Georgia scored 3 consecutive touchdowns. And
Kirby got some serious height on that interception.
Let me tell you.
For a man that's 50 years old or thereabouts, he got some air.
Yes, he did. If you haven't seen it, on the pick six, right as it was being intercepted 79 yards away from the end zone, Kirby is, now he did bring his knees up as he jumped up in the air. So it does make him look like he's 4 feet off the ground when, probably he's closer to 2, but still.
It's some serious ups for an old man.
Yeah.
It's not a young man that's jumping that high right there.
No, he's, basically that's, the coaching equivalent of postering right there. That's a good shot. That's a good shot. I think we will see that still for a very long time. So how about them Dogs? They did it. I felt it was ironic, Mark. Their very first touchdown of the season was a pick six to win the Clemson game. Their last touchdown of the season was a pick six to seal the national championship. A team that was based primarily around their defense. That's another thing that we don't see much anymore. Don't know, quite frankly, how many more times we're going to see it, where without question, the defense is the dominant unit and with a pedestrian quarterback. This was an old-fashioned national championship.
Not to go to Sundays, but it's the Ravens championship team.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of Ohio State in 2002. Craig Krenzel was pretty pedestrian. Clarett was a stud, obviously, as a freshman, but that team was based, they put 20 guys in the pros on defense. Laurinaitis and all that. That team was loaded defensively.
But there wasn't a Clarett on that offense either, if you know what I mean. Maurice Clarett was a stud.
Right. So for at least one more year, people can still bring out the old defense wins championships, I guess.
No, they can't, but they can try.
Well, it did this year. Miller and Moulton. But yesterday was Black Monday in the NFL, and most of it occurred while we were on the air in our bonus hour. But it happened before 10 a.m. yesterday, including the Dolphins getting rid of Brian Flores. And Fins Nation is not happy about it. Bill King coming up in a little more than 20 minutes to talk about the national championship. Mike Masala coming up next hour to talk about the Dolphins. Pat Kirwan to talk all things NFL in our 8 o'clock hour. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton, and thanks for waking up with us on the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Who's going to win the Natty next year, Alabama or the field?
Do we want to ask something about? Yeah. Oh, hey. Do we want to ask something about Flores?
Love that N'Kobe Dean was wearing the wrong hat.
Was he?
Oh, it's all over Twitter. He had a hat with an Alabama national championship. He grabbed one. The wrong box was out there. He had an Alabama national championship hat on his field.
That's fantastic.
It's great. In the presser, he was, I got the right hat on now. He had the right one on. It's fantastic. Everything about that is great.
Yeah,
I agree, Adam. I think they did get a little lucky.
There's no doubt.
There's no doubt.
Yep. There's no doubt. And it's what we talk about. You need a little bit of fortune to win a championship. And that was the fortune that they got.
Bianche's poll question. Would you rather find true love and be poor the rest of your life, or find an okay partner and be rich for the rest of your life?
There you go.
That's horribly funny.
30 seconds. Lucas Oil Stadium is cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. And it's conveniently located, and Indianapolis is a great event city.
Yeah.
Hotels are very close. You can walk by, nice restaurants around it. You could see where national championships, Final Four, Super Bowls, it works.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Normally, we do the starting five in about 15 minutes, but we're going to have a guest because it's tough for us to get Bill King on the show since he does a show at 6 a.m. and Central Time. So we're going to jam Bill King in when we normally do the starting five. That means we're going to move things up a little bit, if for no other reason, because, I put a little time and effort into
And
it.
that's what I asked you. Well, we don't have to do it. I'm like, well, you got the card over there, David. If you wrote the card, you got to do the segment. Okay, that's the way it works around here. We don't do work for it not to air. So without any further ado,
The starting five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the starting five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Georgia wins their first national title in 41 years. They score the final 20 points of the game to beat Alabama 33-18. It is the 12th national title in the last 16 years for the SEC. But one could argue the bigger story that came out of Indianapolis was not only no progress from the 10 conference commissioners and Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick, but there seems to be 3 cliques that have formed. And the reason that this is important is if they want to change the structure of college football, Mark, before the current contract ends, which is through the 2025 season, we have 4 more years of status quo unless they unanimously agree to a new format. That's 11-0. And what came out of Indianapolis after 3 days of meeting was, we got at least 3 commissioners who all want their own thing. And it seems pretty difficult to get to 11-0 when you've got 3 cliques.
correct.
So there's a really good chance that the 4-team playoff, we're going to get 4 more seasons of it. And what this does for realignment, I would think it slows it down.
Well, it would, yes. To me, it would be exactly when they said it was going to be, that we're going to go a couple, 3 more seasons of
Right.
really awkward college football.
So, and in many ways, I think that's the bigger story that is not getting a lot of play yet out of Indianapolis. But if you are a casual sports fan or a big-time college football fan, I don't think this weekend went well for you. Meanwhile, in the NFL, it didn't go well for the head coach and general managers of the Bears and the Vikings. Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace let go in Chicago. Mike Zimmer, Rick Spielman let go in Minnesota. And a stunner to many, our friend Orlando Alcigari was calling for it. He called for it on this show 2 weeks ago. And he may be the only person, except for Stephen Ross, who fired head coach Brian Flores yesterday, and then released a statement, and then did a 7-minute presser in which I don't believe he took any questions. He just reiterated why it is he got rid of Brian Flores. And Mark, I must admit, it is something you and I can relate to. He basically said Brian's not playing well with others.
You know, the first 8 report cards of my life all said the same thing, David.
Well, wait, did it say that or did it say you talk too much?
Both. Both. So he doesn't work and play well with others.
Right.
And apparently his general manager is a great talent evaluator.
Well, he's been with the organization 20 years, and Stephen Ross knows him and likes him, so he's keeping Chris Greer around. As many people have pointed out, the differences between what the head coach has done lately and what the general manager has done lately.
Right.
Was it Andrew Brandt that sent out the tweet? Let me get this straight. The one guy took Herbert over Tua
And
then
traded up to get
gave up a first-round pick to move up 6 spots
Right.
in the draft, and they fired the coach?
and they fired the coach.
Remember, after the 0-7 start, Brian Flores went 24-18 as head coach of the Dolphins in his final 2.5 seasons. Back-to-back winning seasons, fired. Oh, boy. I think it's going to be Jim Caldwell. I think it's going to be the nice guy coach, the guy who can get along with everybody coach. That's what I think. A Doug Peterson, a Jim
Well,
Caldwell.
that would allow him to keep Greer.
Yeah, well, which is what he wants to do. College hoops quickly. The polls came out. The Canes are not ranked. And quite frankly, they should be. I mean,
Undefeated in ACC play, right?
5-0 in ACC play, and I think 13-3 overall on the season, and atop the ACC right now, not ranked. Went into Cameron and beat Duke.
Not ranked.
Not even ranked.
Dooku's had a 1 next to their name at some point this year.
They have.
Right.
Yeah, Miami is 28th. You know, the whole receiving votes. They're like the team third out. Baylor's a unanimous number 1. Our buddy Andy Enfield, USC, the only other unbeaten in major college basketball. The Trojans are 5th in the country, the best they've been ranked in nearly 50 years.
Right. The other undefeated team, my Colorado State Rams, got whooped by San Diego State.
Hey, if
It's
you're
a
going
good
to
game
lose,
to watch.
if you're going to lose, that's how you lose. You end up losing by 30.
Well, I watched the majority of that first half, and it was a pretty good game for a while. And San Diego State, they're good. Another mid-major that watch out. I'm not saying, St. Bonaventure, Colorado State,
Right.
San Diego State. There's a bunch of really good,
Loyola Chicago.
yeah, that can win 2 games in the tournament.
Women's rankings, by the way, AP USF is 24th. FGCU is 26th. College hoops on the men's side, Southern beat Bethune by 10 and FAMU beat Grambling by 10. 5 of the 26 games that were scheduled yesterday, Mark, got postponed. That's a lot better than the NHL, who had 4 of their 7 games scheduled yesterday postponed, including Tampa Bay at New Jersey. In the games that were played, the Lance rallied to score 3 in a row and beat Seattle 4-3. The Kings have won 4 of 5. They beat the Rangers 3-1. And I'm telling you, look out for the Bruins. They whooped up on the Caps 7-3. NBA, all 7 games, Mark, got
By the
played.
way, just quickly on your NHL thing, I watched the Avs. You're right. They need to go get Fleury.
Yes.
That's just, that's just
go get it done.
If you
You
come
want
on.
to win a cup, go get a
I know
goalie.
the coach. I like him. I'd love to see him hoist it. You better go get a damn goaltender.
Go get
'Cause you don't have
Marc-Andre
one.
Fleury. No, not even close. 7 games last night. Joel Embiid's 30 or more, 8 games in a row, 31-8 last night for the Sixers, who beat Houston by 20. Brooklyn lost in Portland, 114-108. What in the wide world is no Harden last night for the Nets. Celtics won in overtime. Charlotte beat Milwaukee. The Pistons beat the Jazz by 10. Stop the presses.
I think that's 4 on the season.
Knicks beat the Spurs by 15, and the Cavs just keep winning. 109-108 in Sacramento. Bryson DeChambeau withdraws from the Sony Open because of wrist soreness, and Djokovic is practicing. He's allowed in the country. He's practicing. He's in the field for the Australian Open, yet apparently they're still debating how to kick him out of the tournament. Cannot make this story up. And that was the starting
That was
5.
The starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
To us, he's the voice of college football. He's Bill King, sports radio out of Nashville. He lives it. He breathes it. He talks it. He will join us next on Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistant band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I don't know why she's not been at gymnastics. We got to talk.
She said, because I retweeted this mascot could not, your tweet, and said this mascot could not be denied. And she said, I'm so happy for them.
A&M girl.
I know.
She just hates Alabama.
I'm sure. They've won a few. 12 national titles. He's won 6 of them. You got the 2 for Florida. All right. The 2 for LSU, Cams, and now this. So the rest of the conference is caught up to Nick.
You know, it is funny, though, when they run that SEC thing, it just matters more. It just does.
It just means more. It does.
It just does. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. We're not. I love it. He's changed his. I didn't see this last night. He has changed his little Twitter bio. Voice on loan from God.
Who's that, Bill?
Yeah.
Complimentary bread. Oh, that was before.
Where's Bill from?
Nashville. Well, I don't know if he's from Nashville, but he's based in Tennessee, and he's based out of Nashville. Bill.
What station?
I don't know. No, it just goes Nashville Sports Radio. WN,
We're just going with this.
WNSR.
We're just going on the line. Bill King, the voice of college football. Is that good enough?
Huh?
Yes, she did, Klecko. I did see that over in Naples there. Ran over his foot.
Can't do that. Yes, it really happened. Everybody should have a parade. That's my
Except
my
Iowa.
feeling.
Except Iowa.
No, even Iowa.
That's just my buddies in here who's a big Iowa fan.
Everybody should get a
just
parade.
busting that.
There are different kinds of parades, though. Like Iowa's probably never going to have a football parade, but a Big Ten championship, that'd go a long way. Give them a college basketball national championship, give them a Big Ten football championship. I think that's about the ceiling.
Yes. Because the football playoff, football.
Bill hung up. I had him on the phone. I was about to say Bill.
Hey.
Okay, watch it.
Open mic, dude.
Was that on there?
I never know with him. Do you have Bill?
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"23 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Pat Kirwan, he's coming on at 8 o'clock. Normally comes on 8:30-ish. He's got a scheduled conflict. We're moving Pat up today. He'll do the half hour from 8 to 8:30. Mike Masala will be on right before that, about an hour from now, to talk Dolphins. Right now, it is a pleasure to welcome back to the show the voice of college football, as far as we're concerned. It is one Bill King, Nashville Sports Radio. Follow him on Twitter at Bill is King. Bill, it is David and Mark. It has been too long. We hope you and your family are well. How are you?
Yeah, guys. Good morning. Good to be with you.
Well, Bill, they exercised the demons yesterday. I thought that going into the game, I just thought that, not just the players, the coaches, the entire Georgia fan base was so nervous about losing to Alabama again, but they exercised their demons despite Stetson Bennett at quarterback.
Yeah, guys, had a slight feeling that Alabama would win this game again. I will admit it. But I did think that Alabama would have to do it taking Georgia's best punch. And Georgia's best punch was good enough to win. And that's the outcome. And I talk about this on the show. I remember back in the early 90s, before the 93 season, people always talked about Bobby Bowden couldn't win the big one. I remember people talked about Dr. Tom at Nebraska before the 94-95 season. Couldn't win the big one. And I'm not comparing Kirby or anything. I'm just saying I remember going through this, and coaches getting it done finally, and this is Kirby's time.
Well, and also, Bill, do you think that this is the beginning of Georgia becoming the program that you and many others have thought, there's really no reason that they can't be part of college football royalty? They've always thought they were going to be, or that they were. But now, Bill, is this, as famously as Nick said when he won the first, this is not the end, this is a beginning. Do you think this is more of a beginning than an end for Georgia?
Well, the way they bring in players, they've got that. They've got the resources. They've got the coaching, we think, because they just won one with this staff. And I think they can become royalty. I think they've already been royalty. It's just they don't have that final W that they just obtained last night. But they've always had everything. That 2012 team that came down to basically the last play in the Alabama SEC championship game, that team was good enough to win it all. A couple of years ago in the national championship game, they figured they had that thing won, went to overtime, lost on a long second and 26 play. They've been good enough many times in the past. They just now figured it out to finish it.
At the end of the day, though, they reached a new level with Kirby. And I thought, Kirby thanking Alabama in his postgame wasn't just about that team, but was about what he learned and what he was able to convince Georgia they had to ultimately do to be on Alabama's level. I think it's a message, and Bill, I don't know about you, but it's a message to all the other, whether it's SEC programs, whether it's Big Ten programs, whether it's a future Big 12 program, that if you don't have it from the top down, meaning the president on down, it's really difficult to win that last game.
No question. Yeah, you gotta be lined up right. You can't just. Well, we've seen a few teams. The Miami teams of the early 2000s, Larry Coker, were not well coached, but they had so much talent it didn't matter. That's very rare. You got to be lined up from the top down. Your head coach, the assistant coaches, the recruiting, the development, your strength and conditioning guy is incredibly important. He may be as important as anybody, but the head coach in the whole procedure, you got to have all that lined up to be able to do what they just did.
Bill King, the voice of college football, Nashville Sports Radio. Follow him on Twitter at Bill is King. That's Bill is King. The story that for right now may be a little underreported nationally is the 48 hours before the game, where apparently, Bill, not only did nothing happen, it may have been worse than that there's now apparently 3 clicks amongst the conference commissioners, and it looks as if we're going to have status quo for 4 more years when the expectation 6 months ago was we were going to have radical change. Your thoughts on keeping on for the sport of college football?
Now, you're talking about the playoff expansion?
Right.
Well, they're going to expand, guys, but here's what happened. When the Texas-Oklahoma story hit this summer, right after the Big 12 media days and during the SEC media days, all the other leagues outside of the SEC got into a big tizzy because they didn't feel like they were in the loop. They're all for expansion, and it was going to happen sooner than later. But what has happened is the Big Ten, with their lack of leadership and their lack of leadership with their commissioner, and the same with, at least prior, the Pac-12. The Pac-12 and the Big Ten, as we know, are married. And then the ACC, they basically are saying, we don't feel like we were in these meetings. And even though deep down we do want expansion because it's going to help us get more teams in, perhaps, we're not going to do it sooner than later. We're going to let this contract play out simply because. It's basically, guys, so petty that it would be like you're at your first grade kickball game, your first year in elementary school, and you don't play the kickball game because you're not getting the rules you want. So you say, I'm not playing today. That's how petty this is, and that's what they're doing. But they are going to expand. And by the way, guys, it's not about fairness, getting more teams in. It's not about what's doing right. This is about the money, and they are going to expand. It just might not be as soon as we thought.
And, the part of this, Bill, that astonishes us is that the SEC's been really at the forefront of the expansion, and I don't know if it's the other conferences' fear that they're going to get 4, but they're going to get more money. So what is the ultimate holdup, in your estimation, other than just pettiness, of why we can't get this done?
There isn't. Yeah, there isn't another holdup. It's all about you guys are making decisions like Roy Kramer did and like Mike Slive did. We're not going to do this anymore. And unless we feel like we were part of it, we're not going to go as fast as you want to go. That's all this is, guys. It's incredibly petty. And you know what? I'm not an expansion guy, as you know, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
But that's where we're at.
Bill, who's the next Georgia? And by that, I mean, this is Kirby coming in. Georgia was winning 9-10 games under Mark Richt. Yeah, the 2012 team, even the 2005 team, probably could have won a natty. But clearly, Kirby brought him to the next level. Now he's conquered, slayed the lion, the dragon, what have you. Is it Florida? Is it Tennessee? Is it A&M? Is it someone even you like from another conference? Is it the return of Miami or Florida State in the ACC? Who is it that you think is going to line things up and take the next 5 to 7 years and climb the mountain?
Well, if it's a coach who's done it before, if it's a place that has basically unlimited resources and they're not afraid to spend it, and it's a place where, geographically speaking, you can recruit incredible talent. And again, you go back to the resources, it's A&M. Now, again, getting there is one thing. Having everything in line is fantastic. You still have to do it. But if anybody is set up to do it, they're coming off right now the number one recruiting class in the class of 22. They're spending money like they're drunk sailors, and it's legal because we have no leadership. So if there is a next team, it's got to be A&M.
Well, Bill, you got to where I wanted to go to because this is messy. NIL is messy. The transfer portal may be messier. David and I are both guys who thought the player should be getting something. We have no problem right now with the transfer portal. Like you said, there's no leadership. This is ugly because Mark Emmert wanted to make Congress do this instead of having anywhere withal to do it himself. We're a couple of years into this. What do you think so far, the transfer portal, and how long do you think it takes before, if there's any substantial change to how this is done?
Well, Congress isn't thinking about college football's transfer portal or name, image, likeness.
Right.
And getting all these states unified. That's not a thing. So I don't think we're anywhere near any uniformity there. And basically, it's just we have legalized the Wild West is what we've done. Now, I'll say this. Doing a show every day like you guys do and like I do, it's fantastic radio. It's unlimited content, but it's terrible for the sport. One minute you're sitting there, minding your own business. Next minute, Caleb Williams, who had a fantastic freshman year's out of there. Stories like that, name, image, likeness, where there's no. The NCAA basically, guys, has said here the last couple of years we quit. Just whatever you want to do, just do it. And so, guys, from a content standpoint, it's really good. From a health standpoint, it's terrible.
You think it gets fixed? Do you think legally, Bill, it can?
Probably not. It's not trending. It's not trending well. And again, one other note, guys. I see some of the national names say we need a commissioner. We don't need a commissioner. Number one, the SEC is never going to yield power to some ivory tower bow tie wearing nerd. And guys, if we had a commissioner, you know what would have happened? A year ago, this guy would have announced, along with the Big Ten in the background, we're not playing football. You really think the SEC would ever yield to some guy in an Indianapolis ivory tower as the overlord to college football? Never. So, and I don't want a commissioner because that's the guy they would hire. And we would not have played football in 2020, which would have been an absolute scam. So, guys, not a lot of good answers for you here, but it's messy.
No doubt about it. If it wasn't for Greg Sankey, we wouldn't have had a 2020 college football season. There's no question about it. Bill, since you've got a show and you were generous with your time, we will let you go. All the best, not only on Nashville Sports Radio, but to you and your family. Hope your kid's doing great in college, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Bill King, the voice of college football, as he says, a voice on loan from God.
Used to listen to him. I think it was WLAC in Nashville. When I first moved there, I was the voice of the minor league hockey team in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm trying to make hockey go, and I turn on 1510 in like March. Well, I don't think it was March. It probably was before signing day.
So it was late January, maybe?
Late January, might have been December. I don't remember when I first tuned into it, but all I know is that he'd get calls of like, hey, Bill, yeah, At David Moulton, he's at Henderson. What do you think about it? Well, he'll tell you what, he's a sophomore. He runs a 4.640, but they say he's a good route runner, and right now he's considering Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. And I'm like, what in the hell is this? And the more you listen, the more that you just realize that it was college football, 24/7, 365, and it was all about, in Nashville, it was either, Vols or the Crimson Tide, even then, and it was something, and it's never waned, and that's over 20 years ago, David.
Bill King was at least a generation ahead of his time.
Yes.
And that's why we love him. It's why we, along with he and his supporters, call him the voice of college football. Because also he was always on a station that had a big stick.
Right.
And bouncing through the mountains, all right, into the southeast, and you could get them, even down into close to Atlanta, and you could get them obviously into Alabama and Mississippi.
Feinbaum's known as the guy because Birmingham is so popular,
right,
for college football, and Feinbaum took it to the next level. But Bill King was the one that started it, to me, of the college football sports talk in the South.
We love him. He's old school. Follow him on Twitter at Bill is King, at Bill is King. Pat Kirwan will join us in a little over an hour. We'll talk about everything that went on Black Monday in the NFL with 3 head coaches and 2 general managers officially let go. I think there's a chance today, no later than tomorrow. I think the Giants could move on from Joe Judge. I don't think we're done yet. I don't. I think at least one more coach goes. And there's always the chance every now and then there's a coach who took a team to the playoffs who gets sent packing. So I think we've got more still to come.
I think Vegas could lose the game and they could move on.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a done deal.
No. He definitely helped his cause a lot, though, with the win.
And it would suck if you take a team to the playoffs as an interim coach and get gassed. But
and win your last 4 to do it and beat some teams that people, quite frankly, thought were better than you. They went to Indy and beat the Colts. They were underdogs at home against the Chargers. So I do think it's great for the league, though. There's a whole generation of NFL fans that don't realize just what a big deal the Raiders were for such a long time, and they will come out of the woodwork. And I'll say this, that's Kansas City and Buffalo are paired against one another, 2 against 3, so to speak. I mean, the winner of Cincinnati and the Raiders gets Tennessee. And let's be honest, Tennessee doesn't strike fear into the hearts of many people.
No, they don't. They should.
Right.
Particularly if this guy named Derrick Henry is going to be able to play, and it looks like he is.
Yep.
So they should be scaring the hell out of everybody. Someone asked in our Twitch chat room this morning, well, can a running game win in the NFL playoffs? I'll let you know when Tennessee starts playing. Because if there's one that can do it, that's the one. Indianapolis couldn't get it to the barn against Jacksonville trying to run the football, but they screwed it up 6 other ways. So we shall see what the Titans can do.
Mike Masala, he covers the Dolphins beat. They let go of their head coach yesterday after back-to-back winning seasons.
But not their GM.
No, and the owner was kind of defiant while doing it. He will join us coming up next hour here on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
At 7:35, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, Jimmy, that's all I'm saying. I mean, you basically came across like, Georgia's, I mean, come on, you got to give them their due. I mean, pick your cliche. They've been sawing wood. They've been, climbing the mountain, whatever. I mean, come on, they earned this.
Well, he's a Canes fan, and Jimmy, no offense, it sounds like you're just a disgruntled Canes fan because your team ain't any good, and you're not going to be. I mean, if you got this right, you will be. If the school's actually going to invest, Jimmy should be thanking Georgia. Because if it wasn't for Georgia and Kirby going all in, other schools like Miami wouldn't have realized that you have to go all in.
Jimmy, I understand you don't like the word that I used, but reading it from where we sat, okay, it came across.
I thought you, and why I asked what team you were, I thought you were a crybaby Florida fan. That's what it looked like to me. That's what I thought. That's why I asked your team.
It came across right as you have it in for Georgia, and then therefore anything that they do,
By the way, they are
deal.
favored to win the national championship next year.
So, Jimmy, if you don't like the word that I used, my bad. But from where I sat, it was kind of like, man, you're talking about them like they're, they haven't done anything. They haven't accomplished anything here. It's hard to beat Alabama. It's hard to catch up. I mean, they have caught up to Alabama, and now finally they beat them. That's it's pretty hard to do. I mean, I think Georgia's just done, Jimmy, what Clemson did. Clemson had to catch up, whether it was Florida State and you guys, and then it was Florida State, and, Clemson had to catch up. And when they finally caught up, and then, they went after Alabama and they finally got them, it would have been like you dismissing what Clemson did. That's all. I feel Georgia, they earned their due last night. So sorry for the brat comment.
It's really impressive the influence that a Nick Saban loss has on fans. Everyone wants to see Bama lose.
Well, yeah, there's Bama fatigue. It's like Patriots fatigue. People root for the Eagles in a Super Bowl Cowboy fans rooted for the Eagles in a Super Bowl. They were just tired of Brady and the Patriots winning. Seriously, Jimmy? They just had a 10-win season. Clemson's where you would kill to be. Wow. Jimmy, you're pretty miserable. Got to be honest. Where is Clemson now? When 10-3 is a down year, that's where
They're
they
a
are.
hell of a lot better than where the Miami Hurricanes are. Light years.
Where is Clemson
It'll take you
now?
4 years to catch up to where they are this year, if you want to know the absolute truth.
How much longer is Dabo staying?
Forever.
Where's he going to go?
Where's he going? He's a young man.
30 seconds.
Where's he going to go?
Hopefully he doesn't pull a BK. I don't know. Football. That's like
I will say you can tell how many people don't like Brian Kelly because there are a lot of people who gave him grief for his joke in which he said, from Boston, we don't have strong accents.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Minute and a half past the top of the hour, hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this, well, not just the Florida Sports Network, but on this day where Georgia got it done after 41 years. And, they care passionately about football there. It's not like it was a long time or anything. Only 41 years. Jimmy Carter was president. Herschel was a freshman.
No, I mean, I was once married into a Georgia family. I've heard all these things. I've watched them lose to Southern Miss, Tennessee a gazillion times, South Carolina, Florida seemingly every year
for a decade.
No. I'm aware. I mean, I remember the way that they would sit around and talk about the 1980 season as if it was yesterday. And this was the
late
latter
90s.
The early part of the 2000s even, David. But definitely the late 90s, early 2000s. And, I thought about it last night that, my ex-wife remembers the championship. She and I are the same age, but her cousins are a little bit younger. They have no clue. None.
Right.
All heard it from their dad who played at Georgia back in the 70s. My son, I text him, congratulations. I even got a Felipe, we did it, even though he doesn't attend school there. I let it go last night. I thought I would just say, what, East Carolina won a natty? But I was around it for so long intimately that I understand their passion and also their frustration. And that's why I thought at the beginning of the game, I was paying attention. Bill Bender was at the game on our show a bunch. And when Bill Bender, who's been to a bunch of Ohio State games and Big Ten championships in that very building, is talking about the atmosphere before the natty, I was pleasantly surprised because the game doesn't get juice. It's Black Monday. We've just gone through an NFL weekend. There's a lot of other things that go on leading up to the national championship game.
Right.
But not for those that were inside the building. That's all that mattered.
Right. And I will say for those that were there and in and around it, they thought it was like 2-1 Georgia, at least.
70-30 is what I kept seeing.
In terms of fan support. Kind of reminded me of the Niners-Rams game on Sunday, which was a sea of red in SoFi. So, but hey, I'm from the every fan base deserves a parade. I also believe that these things go together, like Tampa Bay there had the Lightning win and the Bucks win and the Rays go to the World Series. I'm a believer in that sort of thing. Atlanta's had, this is a golden 8-month period in Atlanta sports. The Hawks go deep to the conference finals. Only the second time they'd ever gone to the conference final since they moved to Atlanta. And the first time they got swept. This time they were actually 2-2 in the conference finals with a real shot to go to the finals. Then, of course, the Braves win the World Series. And it had been over a quarter century, by the way, since they had won the World Series.
Well, and talk about another team exercising some demons.
Right.
I mean, the Braves were the classic bridesmaid of baseball for a generation of people.
Yeah.
No, for a generation of people, the Braves were bridesmaids in baseball. They just were, David.
Yeah, they went 1-4 in World Series, and that's just in the 90s. Then they start the 2000s winning the division every year and not doing anything in the playoffs. And then even here lately, they got to the playoffs a few times and couldn't get it done. And finally, the It's kind of like when the Cardinals in 06 finally won the World Series under La Russa. He only had about 7 teams better than that one, but that was the one that got it done. And I feel like it's the same thing here with the Braves. In the last 25 years, they've had 10 teams better than the one that won the World Series easily.
And the Georgia Bulldogs may have had a couple of teams that were better than this Georgia Bulldog team.
Yes.
But this team found the right hole to weasel through and get their breaks, get a couple of injuries, and get the sucker to the barn.
And there's no doubt they caught breaks. I mean, Alabama, not just who they were missing coming into the game. All teams have that. But, when Williams gets hurt during the game, and now you got a bunch of inexperience at receiver, and let's face it, we don't think these guys are going to turn into Ruggs and Devontae Smith and Judy and what have you. We don't think of them that way because, quite frankly, if they were that good, they'd be on the field. I mean, those guys were on the field as freshmen. These guys are, covering kicks as freshmen. And so Georgia caught some breaks. We've said it for many years. Fans hate to hear it. You need just a little bit of good fortune, whether you get a bounce, whether you face somebody at a key time and they're down a key player. And Georgia got that last night. And that's what happens when you keep putting yourself in position to win a championship. We say it in individual sports all the time in tennis and golf. If you can just keep knocking on that door, you usually will have it open for you. And Georgia had both. They had it open a little bit for them last night, and then they were able to push it through themselves. I mean, they were trailing in the fourth quarter of the national championship game after having just the walk-on quarterback committed a turnover to give up the lead.
Right. And then he has 5 great minutes, David. He did. He threw a couple good passes on that drive that got him the lead.
He did.
He may have only had 6 good minutes the whole night, David.
Right.
But he had 5 in a row, and he had 1 pass earlier than that on an offsides, and 50-50 ball, and he got the other deep ball early in the game. That's it.
And I must admit, I only yelled at the TV about 6 times last night to run the damn ball. Only about 6.
Well, of all the ones that bothered me, looking back, is that Georgia gets the interception. And they've got the ball at about midfield. And the first play Kirby runs is a play action that takes him back another 10 yards.
Yep.
You just got an interception. Your offensive line is ready to hurt someone. Run the damn ball.
A lot of teams do that, though. They get a turnover. They want to get a big pass play, the whole deal.
But all those other teams do not have Stetson Bennett playing quarterback, David.
Thank you. If
I had Bryce Young and I got that interception, I might go to the house. I might throw it deep.
Clearly, I mean, Alabama was, even though the score was close, it did feel like for a long time Bama was in control of this game. They were getting first downs on offense. They were moving the football. They got it in the red zone 3 times and had to settle for field goals, once inside the 5. And that's where they had their chance to really to bury Georgia the way they did in the second quarter of the SEC championship game, and they couldn't do it.
And I kept thinking in the second half, something that you've put in my head, the 50 play number. Because what did Alabama do in plays? 12 plays, 11 plays. They had far more plays on offense than Georgia did. And I really thought going into the second half that was going to affect the Georgia defense. So give Kirby, give that defensive staff, give those defensive players who took it to a man to themselves that when a football player says, I questioned my own conditioning after the SEC championship, they took it upon themselves to go back to work.
Well, and depth won out. I mean, Georgia felt they went about 25 deep on defense, and they needed it, Mark, as you pointed out. When Bama's running that many plays through 3 quarters, you need to be able to keep shuffling in bodies, and they did. It's not often that you go, wow, that was a team championship. You felt that way about like 2002 Ohio State. Then there have been others in which, the Tennessee team in 98, you're like, wow, this was really a team championship. And I feel that way about Georgia. And you're not going to get many of those. I mean, this is the first time in a long time they didn't have anybody in like the top 8 of the Heisman voting, and that team won the national championship. I mean, usually you need some stars. And, they just did it with numbers last night. And
the numbers sometimes were, 25. Sometimes the numbers were whatever the weight of Jordan Davis and some of those other D linemen were. Carter. I mean, those were some big men.
Right.
Just some big men mauling one another last night.
I mean, sometimes the number's 25, sometimes the number's 363.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yes, exactly what he said.
What's the number? 700, the weight of our 2 D tackles. Miller and Moulton. When we come back, Black Monday, and which organizations made a mistake and which organizations have got it right. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for waking up with us on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
God, that game took forever. Twitch chat, for the people that stayed up, I want to know what time you guys went to sleep. Because I did not get much sleep.
That work? David?
Also, chat,
Yeah.
put together an article for the website, mid-season predictions for
Got all
the
the tweets
NBA.
for the show already done.
I'm going to have 4.
Schedule the one for the next guy. Schedule the one for Pat.
Bonus hour, we'll get a Georgia guy.
Okay.
He was at the game. Got back to me.
Mark, before I was watching the national championship game, I was watching Hornets Bucks on NBA TV. I think someone said something along the lines that Miles Bridges is from Saginaw.
No,
No,
he is not. He went to Michigan State, but he's not from Saginaw.
no, it wasn't Miles Bridges. I guess I looked it up.
Draymond Green's from Saginaw.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's see. Before that, a little old for you, but Jason Richardson was a Saginaw kid, the really
I know
good dunker.
Jay Rich.
I think that's it. I think.
Wait, did Jay Rich go to Michigan State?
Yeah. Went to where I went to high school for a year and then transferred to one of the Class A schools.
No way. Sure, he was exciting in high school.
Yeah, he could dunk a little bit.
Oh yeah, he's got athleticism. I mean, you could argue that the last good national championship game was
last night.
It was last night.
It was
No,
last night.
I'm saying before last night.
Okay.
Was the Georgia-Alabama game. I mean, the Clemson beating the hell out of Alabama, that was good because it was shocking.
LSU beat down, and Alabama last year beat down. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Listen, Alabama plays, for the most part, terrific title games. 2017, Georgia was close. It goes overtime. 2016, Clemson beats them on the final play of the game. 2015, they had to come from behind in the fourth quarter to beat Clemson by 5.
That was a shootout. I remember that game.
Nick with the ballsy onside kick
Yeah.
after having just taken the lead in the fourth quarter.
20 seconds.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
18 minutes past the hour. Top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network. If you've never texted the show, please do so. You have to do one thing first. Text all one word, FSN Radio. FSN Radio to 21,000. And then you're in. Text away. And why don't you watch us, follow us, subscribe to us. The Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. And, we got a Twitch chat room. Got a little lively this morning. I called some guy a brat. He didn't take too kindly to it. So, it just, and then, the Twitch viewers go after each other as well. It's a good time. It's all in good fun. Kind of like our poll question, Mark.
Yeah, we have one. I mean, this is becoming like we do a show every day. 2 in a row.
I think we're going to have to do this regularly.
Seems to be the case, David.
Right. So it's a good thing that we're getting in the habit.
But it's very simple. What is the biggest problem you have with college football today? And there are 4 choices. 1's the transfer portal. 2 is name, image, and likeness. 3 is SEC dominance. And 4, everything is fine, David. It's all fine. And that's what I would vote, for the record. I'm fine with everything. I know that the transfer portal is messy. The name, image, and likeness is going to be messy. That's their own fault. For the moment, I'm fine. It may change, but at this particular moment, nothing to see here. Everything is fine, David.
Which do you think they rein in first, by the way? Transfer portal or NIL?
I think transfer portal, because it will be easier for them to do so.
Correct. I'm with you.
They would rather control the NIL, but they let Pandora's box open.
Right.
With it, and it opened so quickly and so violently, David, they broke the hinge off the backside, and I don't think they can shut that door.
Plus, the coaches are making so much money that, whatever. But yeah, transfer portal, that's talent acquisition. That's something they'd like to be able to control. So that's our poll question. At that Mark Miller and at the David Moulton. Please vote. So the Bears get it right yesterday, getting rid of coach and GM.
We'll see. I don't know. Do the Bears? Let me answer your question with another question. Do the Bears ever get anything right?
They do, believe it or not.
What?
They really do.
What have they gotten right?
Well, I mean,
when's the last time they've gotten things right?
Well, they went to a Super Bowl 15 years ago. They were in an NFC championship game about 10, 11 years ago.
All right. In the last decade, what have they gotten right?
Well, I have to admit, they looked like they were on the verge. If they had drafted Deshaun Watson instead of Mitchell Trubisky, we might be singing an entirely different tune. That will be Ryan Pace's, epithet.
Never try to outthink the room.
Right.
Never.
He put together a really good team. He picked the wrong quarterback. That's basically what it came down to. If they had Deshaun Watson when they had put together that 12-4 team and he made the big trade for Khalil Mack, if he had a quarterback on that team, I don't know if the Packers and the Vikings would have had the run here that they've had in that division the last handful of years.
You're right, David, but much like the Browns, they've not had a quarterback. So to make an assumption that David, put it this way. I could tell you they could have drafted Deshaun Watson and he could have ended up having a less than stellar career because he was drafted by the Bears, and you could go, well, hard to argue with that because they've done it before. They can squeeze the talent out of any quarterback.
I know Bears fans hate Matt Nagy. I always thought Ryan Pace was more the problem than Matt Nagy. But, sometimes we're in a very superficial society, and there are some people who, like when they go to the sidelines, Bears fans got to the point where they didn't even like how Matt Nagy looked. Whether it was the visor, whether it was the shades, honestly, they got
you
to
hated
that
the
point.
Visor.
I wasn't.
He wore a visor at night, and you couldn't forgive him for it.
Well,
if he'd have worn a hat, apparently it was okay. But the fact that it was a visor at night was the end for you. So do not start lumping other people into this generalization.
That was not the end for me, but it did bother me. Okay, indoors it did bother me. It's like, dude, why? But anyway. Vikings, I was a little surprised they got rid of the GM. All right. Zimmer, it looked as if the shelf life had come and gone, and he wasn't embracing the young guys, and they were in a bit of a transitionary period. I mean, I thought it was very telling. Kellen Mond was not active for the regular season finale Sunday. I know that's a little thing, but he might be the guy to replace Kirk Cousins. Would it have killed Mike Zimmer to have Kellen Mond active and maybe have Kellen Mond play the fourth quarter in a completely meaningless game outside of a little bit of draft position? Okay. But no, that's not how Zimmer operates. And you thought to yourself, man, we're probably moving on from Cousins in the next 12 months. Are you sure Mike Zimmer with a young quarterback? I mean, he was okay with Teddy when he had his young defense in its prime, but it's not that good anymore. He needs to get more out of the quarterback position than when he had a young Teddy Bridgewater. And, I could see why they had to move on from Zimmer. I was a little surprised they moved on from Spielman. I'm not against it, but I was a little surprised.
Look, I feel badly for Vikings fan. I feel worse for them than I do for the Bears fan, because the Bears, to me, have just been an average to below average franchise. The Vikings had what seemed to be two different windows here in the last decade that they've kind of screwed up. Now, I get it. They had an Aaron Rodgers in their division. It does affect things. But I thought Minnesota was closer than the Bears on two different occasions.
Sure.
And kind of screwed it up. And that's why I think you're supporting Spielman, because he did give them the right talent. He even did make some moves of moving talent to acquire draft picks. So I thought he did an okay job.
I believe during his tenure as GM, only 8 teams won more games. take it for what it's worth. I know they only got to one NFC championship game.
But he's not coaching. His job is to get them in a position, and I think that was screwed up by Zim more than it was screwed up by Spielman.
But he's going to get blamed because a lot of Vikings fans feel he didn't get the quarterback right. Now they caught a bad break with Teddy, obviously. And then, they get to the NFC championship game and they go and they get Cousins. And he was supposed to be an upgrade, and they were therefore supposed to go further. And they were not. They were going backwards. So from an ownership standpoint, I understand it. It did surprise me a little bit. All right. The headliner yesterday, though, was Brian Flores. All right. On the shocked scale of 1 to 10, where were you?
6.
Really? Really? Just a 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we literally talked about the fact that he could get fired on the show. Now, I didn't think it would happen with a win against the Patriots. But when we went through the coaches that could be fired, he was one of the guys that we named. So I can't be that shocked that it turned out they fired him, particularly given the fact that Jim Harbaugh told a recruit that I'm going to entertain NFL offers. Stephen Ross loves Jim Harbaugh.
But Ross did come out yesterday and say, I will not be the guy to take Jim Harbaugh away from the University of Michigan. And I wish that he would have taken questions. All right, because what I would have said is, listen, if he's leaving, then why not him leave for you?
Correct.
I mean, I understand you want him to stay the head coach at Michigan, but you've got his cell phone number, right? And you have his agent's phone number. If he's leaving, all right, then why not Miami?
You asked me if I was shocked was the question. Okay,
correct.
So the reason I wasn't ultimately shocked is at that point he had not said he didn't want Jim Harbaugh yet. When we were doing the show yesterday at 8:30 in the morning or 9:30 in the morning, and all of a sudden Flores gets fired, I went, wow, they're getting Harbaugh. That's just right. We hadn't had a statement yet. We certainly hadn't had the little presser yet. So that's why when Harbaugh's name surfaced and it was Vegas and it was the Bears, and you and I kept just going, Vegas and the Bears, there's this Ross guy that he's got to at least make the phone call.
And so does Jacksonville, for that matter.
So that's why I wasn't at a 9, 8, 9 shot. I was at a 6.
It was a little higher for me because shortly thereafter, Jeff Darlington and Joe Shad both came out and said, yeah, Harbaugh's not the guy. So when you combine the two, I was like, whoa. Because the other thing is that, and Stephen Ross may have somebody in mind, and maybe this is going to be a 48-hour thing, but he made it sound yesterday as if, no, I just had to make this move because Brian doesn't play well with others. And, basically he's a bull in a china shop, and, I can't handle it anymore. And I would have liked to have drilled down and said, really? You couldn't sit them both down and say, just so you know, you're joined at the hip. All right. So I'll get rid of both of you in a year. Just so you know, make this work or you're both out of work. Got it? I mean, sometimes literally a boss has to do that. I mean, the most famous sports talk show in the industry's history, they hated each other. They didn't get along. It wasn't working. And the boss brought them both, and they were both trying to get the other fired. And the boss brought them in, Mike and the Mad Dog, and said, here's the deal. You're sinking or swimming together. Figure it out. And they figured it out. And I thought Stephen Ross should have done it. And I can't imagine, when given that ultimatum, that Brian Flores wouldn't have changed whatever it is that he's doing, which apparently was bothering Chris Greer and Stephen Ross.
Maybe, possibly. Or he just looked and said, this is what it takes. I have winning records. This is what it takes to be. I've been around winning organizations, Mr. Ross. You have not. You've been nowhere near a winning organization. So fire me, because I'll have a job in 14 seconds. I mean, there's that side of it too, David. If Flores has any of Miller and Moulton in him, any at all, David, he looked right at the owner and said, fire me then. Because this guy doesn't know what he's doing. You want to go through the draft picks? Do you want to see what I'm dealing with because of him? He can't draft an offensive lineman. He passed up on a better quarterback, and he traded up to get a receiver. He could have gotten that spot. And everybody in the industry knows it, Mr. Ross. So fire me.
I will say the receiver had a hell of a year.
He did. Could have got him where he had him in the draft, though.
Well, probably he didn't know it at the time. But, I mean, the receiver has had a hell of a year.
He had a great year.
And the receiver does look legit.
It's the only thing the quarterback had all year. A tight end and a receiver. They've got two.
And the tight end, I think, is a restricted free agent. The Jets apparently going to put a blank piece of paper and a pen in front of him.
Take him.
With $60 million worth of cap room.
I would let, no offense, I like Gesicki, but I'd let that go for what you're going to get in compensation, because I think we're seeing the golden age of the tight end over the course of the next 6 to 8 years. Did you see the two tight ends for Georgia last night?
They're not bad.
Thank you.
They're not bad. Miller and Moulton. Mike Masala covers the Dolphins for Dolphins Wire, which is part of the USA Today network. We'll get his thoughts and the team's reaction to the Dolphins firing Brian Flores. Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Cameron Matu.
This new interchange is going to be a nightmare.
Colonial?
No, just corkscrew. They've been doing all that work. It's
Oh.
going to take a month for people to figure out. You know what I mean? New getting on, getting us 2 accidents there already this morning.
Wait, what's going on?
Oh, that could have been the 4th one. How long the games are. Where in the heck is my tweet?
So Baylor finishes 5th in the final AP poll, not Ohio State. I find that interesting. Georgia, Bama, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Baylor. Huh. Good for them.
By the way, I just want you to see the GIF I put with the tweet that came out. This just makes me happy.
That's fantastic.
Right?
Mike is on hold.
Yeah, Adam, the bulky thing's a problem. The fans are right. The bulky thing is a problem. Klecko, I did see a Bob Saget stand-up. Filthy.
That's what I was always told. Filthy.
Some of it very funny. I didn't. Part of the problem, honestly, is you were just a little surprised it was coming out of his face and mouth. Because of everything you had ever seen of him publicly was always
He
wholesome,
is
family.
filthy.
20 seconds.
Or was, yeah, just a dirty mouth. Funny.
10 seconds.
Apparently a good dude. I mean,
Apparently a great dude. by all
apparently
accounts.
just was very kind to everyone.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Pat Kirwan from NFL Radio and the NFL Today Show to join us coming up at the top of the hour. It's a pleasure to welcome Mike Masala from the Dolphins Wire. The Dolphins Wire, part of the USA Today family. You can follow Mike on Twitter at Mike_Masala, Masala. Mike, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time. A belated Happy New Year. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you guys doing?
Well, we are doing well. First off, I want to ask you the question I asked my co-host last segment. On the shocked scale of 1 to 10, where were you when the news broke yesterday on the shocked scale?
I feel like I was pretty close to a 9 on that one. This seemed like earlier in the season this was the way it was going to go, but after rattling off so many wins in a row, winning 8 of your last 9, sweeping the Patriots for the first time since 2000, it really came out of nowhere to me. This is something I wasn't really prepared for. If you look at all of the Black Monday coaching fires, this was not one that I was expecting to see.
You know, Mike, we thought it was a possibility, particularly if they lost to New England. I thought it was a possibility once Jim Harbaugh told a recruit that I'm going to entertain NFL offers. But when he gets fired, and a couple of people who cover the team pretty closely say that Harbaugh is not a candidate, that is probably what I was most surprised about. How surprised are you that Harbaugh is not a candidate, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised there, especially because obviously we all know Stephen Ross's connections to the University of Michigan. That seems like it would be an obvious fit. There are some good NFL options. I'm just in, like I said, I'm in shock over the fact that you had a guy who brought you to 2 winning seasons for the first time in quite some time, and that you were able to move on from him. Seemed like with not much backlash from your own organization as far as the front office. With Jim Harbaugh specifically, I am a little bit surprised there. It does seem like he's giving a little bit of the I'm going to back my college football team over my team from Stephen Ross, which is interesting. But yeah, I was interested to see how quickly they made that announcement that Jeff Darlington came out with that report, I believe, pretty much minutes after that he wasn't going to entertain, and this decision was made strictly off of Flores himself.
Yeah, then he was quoted, Stephen Ross was, as saying, I will not be the guy to rip Jim Harbaugh away from the University of Michigan, but we, of course, are of the belief if someone is going to be that guy, why not it be you? Mike Masala, the Dolphins Wire. Follow him on Twitter at Mike_Masala, Masala. Mike, it appears as if Stephen Ross basically said Brian Flores was difficult to work with, didn't play well with others, and I really don't think he's the guy to be with Tua going forward. Is that your gist?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're getting out of this so far. Is there's been a lot of reports about the inner workings of the communications between Chris Grier and Flores and Tagovailoa, Flores and Ross. It's been kind of that whole situation has been a little bit of a mess. Obviously, you've seen how poor the offensive coordinator situation has gone there, with 4 offensive coordinators essentially in 3 years. So it does seem like he has that little bit of Belichick. He's a tough guy to work with, tough guy to work for. But there also has been some players in that organization we've seen in the last 24 hours or so who have come to his defense and said that they really enjoyed playing for him and they really enjoyed their honesty. Tua said that throughout the season that throughout the Deshaun Watson rumors that he was really appreciative of how candid he was, and that may be media speak, but it is interesting to note that he was held in high regard from a lot of the people around there. But yeah, that does seem to be the main point is he wasn't the easiest to work with between owner, front office, and himself.
Mike, really simply, did they fire the right guy? I mean, Grier gets to stay. He drafted Tua, not Herbert. He's drafted a mess of an offensive line that's not worked out. Did they fire the right guy?
That's the thing that's been the most confusing part to me in this whole situation is that if you're going to fire Flores, and I am about as big of a Flores guy in this market that you'll find, you have to fire both, because what Chris Grier has done in his situation has not been all that great. Yes, you've seen great draft picks, Jalen Waddle, Javon Holland in the last year, but you traded Micah Fitzpatrick. You moved on from your franchise left tackle. You moved him to Houston. You drafted Eichenberg to be his replacement. You drafted Austin Jackson to be his replacement. And then you essentially have drafted a quarterback who not everybody believes in this region, including a lot of people on their own team, including the coach who was back and forth with him last year in his rookie season. So I am not in the belief that Chris Grier should still be with this team. I think if you were going to make the decision to move on from Flores, even though I'm against it, you had to move on from both. But the fact that he's still there is just alarming to me.
Mike, did you just say that there are a lot of Tua's teammates that don't believe he's the guy?
No, sorry. What I was mentioning was like a lot of the way that they handled Tua playing his rookie year didn't seem like he was ready for his introduction into the NFL. Sorry about that.
Mike Masala from the Dolphins Wire. The Dolphins Wire. Follow him on Twitter at Mike_Masala, Masala. All right. Do you think that Ross/Grier have someone in mind, that they made this move, but within 48, 72 hours, they know who it is they're going to replace him with? Or are they literally starting from scratch? Because that would bother the heck out of me if I was a Dolphin fan. It's like, listen, I don't like you moving on from Flores, but please tell me that there's a plan and you know exactly who it is you want to replace him with.
I think there's probably a short list of guys. We already saw them request permission to interview Brian Dable from the Bills, and I'm sure there's a couple others that will come in the next day or two. But I'm not exactly sure they have a guy that they know they can nail down right now. I'm sure there's a guy, maybe Dable is that guy that they think this is the guy that we can get and this is the guy we want. But there's absolutely no guarantee that one of these guys comes to you, and you could end up being in a situation where you have a much worse coach than Brian Flores. If you looked at the history of Dolphins coaches, he has the 4th highest winning percentage out of any coach there. Like, you don't get. I know it's a short sample size, but you haven't been much better. Beggars can't be choosers in these situations. And I don't think that they have a guaranteed next coach in waiting that they can go in and scoop up right away.
How close, in your estimation, are they? How close are they not to be in a playoff team, but to be a contender? We know who they're dealing with. They're dealing with Buffalo, Tennessee, Kansas City. How close is this team in your estimation?
From being a legitimate conference contender or a potential Super Bowl contender, I do think they are a few pieces away. I don't think Tua has shown that ability to be the quarterback to lead them to a Super Bowl yet. Maybe a guy you can win with, but definitely not a guy you can win because just yet, and it is early in his career. But you definitely need to address either that situation or you need to add more and more pieces around him. The offensive line was the biggest issue throughout this whole year. We saw how poor Jesse Davis played for most of the year up until this last game when he was replaced by Robert Jones. Having the offensive line issues that they had forced him to play in such a regulated way where the ball was out. He had, I believe, the 2nd or 3rd quickest release time in any quarterback in the NFL. And it wasn't because that's what he wanted to do. It's because that's what he had to do. And if you can fix the offensive line problems and get more from either Tua or another quarterback, this defense is good enough. The weapons are maybe not great, but they are good enough to be a contender in the AFC. Those are the things they have to do in order to get there.
Mike, as best you could tell, did Ross have to do this? I mean, was this an ultimatum when Greer said, I ain't working with him? And Flores were like, I ain't working with him. I mean, we're having a hard time believing. And believe me, the radio show that you're on, the 2 hosts can be difficult. Okay, we can. We've been fired before. Sometimes we've deserved it. Okay, most times we haven't, but we can be difficult. But we really have understood in the past when the bosses called us in and said, hey, get your you-know-what together or we're going to throw you out on the street. And we just have a hard time believing that this couldn't have been dealt with. Was it really that bad, or did Ross kind of overreact?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of an overreaction. Because we don't hear from Chris Greer that much, we haven't really gotten his side of the whole story between Flores and Greer. I think, if anything, like I said earlier, I think Greer should have been the one to go. He has been the one who has played more into the reasons why this team hasn't been as successful. And you can say what you want about Flores' inability to put a coaching staff together. Again, we talked about the offensive coordinators, the offensive line coaches. They've all had their issues there. But I do think this is something that you didn't have to make the decision to move on from Flores. But until we know what Chris Greer actually thinks, and we may never know that, I'm not sure we can really say one way or the other.
Very quickly, at first glance, how are the Dolphins positioned this offseason? Like, from a cap situation, because there's already a couple of guys, like Gesicki might be on the market. Well, the Jets have $60 million and have a glaring need for a tight end. I mean, who is it right now that Dolphin fans should be worried about from a cap standpoint that they're not going to be able to retain?
Yeah, that's 75 million, 80 million. The numbers kind of fluctuated and will when the incentives finally come in on what's likely to be earned and what's not. Gesicki and Emmanuel Ogbah are pretty much your 2 biggest free agent targets, obviously. I think Ogbah, for what he's done this year and how consistent he's been in his time with Miami, it's not only the sack numbers, which are okay, they're not fantastic, but it's the quarterback hits, it's the passive defense. He's knocking the ball down at the line of scrimmage 1 or 2 times a game, it feels like. That seems to be the guy that I don't want them to lose out on because there's another team that's a high bidder. Mike Gesicki has been great. He's also had a few games this season when he's kind of put up a blank. It hasn't been it hasn't been as perfect as we all expected, or as earlier in the year it looked like it was going to. But I do want them to re-sign Gesicki. I just think Emmanuel Ogbah's got to be that guy. You got to put your foot down and say you're not losing him. Also, Xavier Howard, who isn't a free agent, but we all know the contract situation that's going on with him. You got to find a way to get that guy in here. You see the instinctive play that he made last week to read Mac Jones's eyes, know exactly where he was going the ball, jump the route, break a very poor tackle attempt, if you want to call it that, from Mac Jones and on his way to the end zone. You got to make sure Ogbah and Howard are back, and it would be a huge bonus if Gesicki was back.
He's Mike Masala, part of the Dolphins Wire. The Dolphins Wire, part of the USA Today umbrella, if you will. Follow Mike on Twitter at Mike_Masala, Mike_Masala, Masala. Mike, thanks for your time and insight. We really appreciate it. You're going to be busy here in the next couple of weeks. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Mike Masala, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. If I'm a Dolphin fan, I do not want to take any steps back with personnel. All right. Everybody he's mentioned, I'm like, yeah, they all got to come back. I'm tired. We're not taking any more steps back. All right. That's how I would feel as a fan. Figure it out. And I would like to think that offensive coaching has been holding them back. Either Greer missed on all these linemen, or an elite offensive line coach could actually turn a bunch of guys who were pretty highly thought of when they were coming out of the draft and turn them at least into an above average unit.
You and I both looked at Indianapolis for that, David. That offensive line's as good as any in football. They've done it with backups this year. That's where I'd be leaning for an O-line coach. I'd probably, work Pat a little bit harder to see who the other guys are that are out there, but that's where I'd start.
I mean, listen, I throw a ton of money at Bill Callahan in Cleveland. I mean, a ton of money. He's one of probably the three best offensive line coaches in the history of the sport. I'm not messing around here. I mean, if you're Stephen Ross, you're getting up there in age. Money's never been a problem. You took $400 million out of your own pocket to help build up the stadium. I mean, go buy the best damn staff you can.
The problem is, David, he's still listening to Greer. And I believe that's a mistake. Because either Greer has been the best drafter with bad coaching, which is on him, because if you're the GM, you're also responsible for who gets hired as coaches. So I can't figure out how he's still there. And David, if he's still there, how are you going to get these elite coaches? Because I don't think that you are, unless you're just going to move him to the side and keep him around.
Well, most GMs will let the coach put his own staff together. Every now and then you'll have a GM that will really put his fingers down on a staff. But I do think in this area, now that you're going to have a new head coach, everybody's fireable now.
100%. But my point is, how many guys are willing to take this job with Greer still there? Have you limited your choices based on the decision that you made to keep Greer? And I think that you have.
Rhino in our Twitch chat room, I'm devastated. In my lifetime as a Dolphins fan, I almost cried. I never thought I would think about switching teams. I would trade Tua, Greer, and a first-round pick to bring Flores back.
That ship, my friend, has sailed.
But that's some of the pain that Dolphin fans are feeling. They are honked. I mean, Orlando Alcigari's on board.
He's on an island all by himself.
He called for this. We could play back what he said on this show. It was last week or the week before. He thought Flores needed to go. Flores had too much influence over Greer and some of his free agent moves and what have you. Orlando's all over this. He's also a Chris Greer guy. Always has been.
Yeah, he was pro Flores about a year and a half ago. So you got to pick one or the other. Miller and Moulton, Pat Kirwan, next.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Get down until he's at about the 10-yard line, David.
Right. Yep. By the way, Williams wanted to come back into the game, and Nick said, "No, young man, you have a future playing football. You're done." That's a coach that gets it.
Our locker room is pissed. Which locker room? Are you in a locker room, Rhino? I mean, your men's league locker room? What locker room is mad? I know. I'm a jerk.
Rhino,
There.
which man? Which man? I've asked you. You said I do not like that man. Which man?
I'm guessing he means Ross. If 97.7 Bryce Young, the answers to that question.
Well, yeah, I would take Tua. I would.
Bryce Young's my answer.
Oh, Orlando Alcigari. Got it. No,
Well, he
Hurts
can't be
is not a
drafted.
rookie.
He's got to come back.
No, Jalen's not a rookie. He's played 2 years.
Chi-Town, that's funny.
That is funny. Listen, if I was a Dolphin fan, it would also concern me. They want to talk to Brian Daboll. Has Daboll been a head coach before? Did I miss that? I mean, he may have interned for a few games, but he hasn't been a head coach, has he?
I don't think so.
Come on, we got to stop this.
Well, I'll tell you what. I would love it if Ross hired an assistant because then everybody'd freak out.
You okay over there? I know you're falling asleep. Sorry about that. Stayed up late last night, way past your bedtime.
I had a Cuban coffee before the game. It's the only way I could stay up. I'm not 20 years old. I need sleep. I did. I don't think that was a boring game. I think it was a lot of defense. I thought the third quarter was a little boring. It's always good when Georgia win things 97-7. Anytime you can get titles in Georgia, it's a good thing, you know. Baseball, football. Just having a little fun there, buddy. But 97.7, I know you have Moulton on your show. When you call him next time, David, are you a brat? Just start with that.
Sometimes.
All right, we got Pat, and we're back in 15.
I'm not on today, am I? I don't think so.
David called someone in the Twitch chat room a brat.
I did. Jimmy's upset. I don't blame him.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Halfway home, if you're listening in the 239. Final hour of the show for those of you in Tampa, St. Pete. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Pat Kirwan always joins us on Tuesdays, a little earlier this time around. Pat, he of NFL Radio, moving the chains weekday afternoons, and CBS's NFL Today show. Pat Kirwan's weekly appearances brought to us by Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and a dozen locations in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. Pat, how are you?
I'm doing really well, and we finally got to the playoffs. And I think first relief, nobody got in with a losing record. And that's the good thing when you're trying to put 7 teams in. So pretty interested in the games that are coming up. And I was just saying to the young man who called me, he said, "Did you watch the game last night?" I said, "I've already watched it twice. I watched it live, and I got up this morning and watched it again." David, you know this. Mark, you know this. There were 30 players in the game with a draftable grade. Had a lot of work to do on that one game.
Gary Danielson was on the show yesterday, and he had the number at 30 to 32 that he thought was going to be drafted, and he thought, Pat, that the 4 best players on the field are all underclassmen and not eligible for the draft.
I might agree with that, you know, but that's the difference when you're talking about schools like that. Many guys have come out of Alabama telling me, "I played hurt." Well, why'd you do that? Because the guy behind me, the rookie, the freshman, is better than me, and I don't want to give up my job. So guys will do anything to stay on the field. So when you have that level of competition, there's always a push from behind as well. So, yep, it's those football factories don't ever stop securing talent. I will say, last night and then again this morning, because I started on the D line, there's a lot of quality defensive linemen who played last night.
There is no doubt. That was, Pat, I left Moulton alone during that one because I figured he was salivating. That was good old-fashioned, hard, physical. I have to think, Pat, as a lifer football guy, that had to be a game that you just enjoyed the physicality of it.
I did. But, you know, it's a great reminder, Mark, as great as the front 7 is and can be at both places, when it came right down to the weak link was a cornerback from Alabama, a young kid. And once they figured out where he was and how to get to him, then it turned the tide for Georgia. Otherwise, that was just a slugfest in the middle of the field.
Pat, Black Monday. And, you know, normally the number's around a handful. And all in all, when you consider that the Raiders and Jags also have interim coaches and Vic got fired in Denver technically on Sunday, you know, we're going to end up with a half a dozen or more. I mean, could have as many as 7 or 8. But was there a move yesterday, a coach or general manager let go, that truly surprised you?
Yeah, Florida. Living down in Miami, I didn't think Flores would get dumped that fast, but he did. And I think the conflicts were inside the building. And I talked to enough guys that I felt like he was a bit of an agitator with his staff, and I don't think everyone came to his defense. And
And if you go toe to toe with your GM, and I'm not suggesting he did all the time, but they eventually conclude there's no harmony here. I need to be working on the team. But some people don't think when there's abrasion that you're really working together. So Brian's out. That wouldn't surprise me. I think the other ones we all kind of predicted it would happen. I talked to Vic every week in Denver. He would never disclose he thought he was out, but to me, that might have been a mistake because all they need is a quarterback. The rest of it's in place to be good. Now let's see. Are they going to give the new coach a quarterback and then keep everything else? And then you'll realize, Vic was a pretty good coach.
Yeah, 7-9 without a Pro Bowler. One of the only teams in the league to not have that, and did a pretty good job with this season, like you said, without a quarterback. Back to Miami, though. Greer stays. Pat, I've listened to a lot of things that you've told me and taught me over the past decade plus of being a guest on this show. One of them is that the elite coaches out there interview owners. How does Miami get the coach that they want if the GM's already in place?
Well, you're a good student, Mark, because the guy, the elite coach who has already been a coach somewhere, has probably been successful, that realizes that I need control of this personnel. I'm not working for a personnel guy anymore. They won't do it. They will simply say, this is a bad formula for me, and they'll settle for someone else. And we know how it goes. The propaganda, and this is not a sarcastic statement, and will be that this new coach is just what we need now. And we've heard it 100 times. Switch from defensive coach to offensive guy. Shift from a disciplinarian to a player's coach. They always know how to go in the opposite direction and sell it, because the guy doesn't count in the cap. But if they really want the best of the best, and that guy wants his own GM, then they're going to have to make a late decision. I don't think they're going to go that way, but they've got a lot of big decisions to make. Are they still in the Watson hunt? There's a new head coach candidate. Have to say you can win with Tua. A lot of guys say stuff. I think Bruce Arians said he could win with Jameis. And a year later, he realized he couldn't. So, got to be careful what you hear. The real question is, who is running the interview? Not setting it up, but who's running it? And is there really a collaboration of opinion when you get down to the final candidates? Or is the owner the owner's old and he wants to win? And if he's going to hire a young guy, that's not the formula for an older coach. When our owner realized I don't have a lot of time left, he said, and I was in the room, I want Parcells and I don't care what it takes.
He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio weekday afternoons. He co-hosts Moving the Chains. He's also part of CBS's NFL Today show, and he joins us twice a week in season, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. But outside of the Jets hiring Parcells, the Jets and the Dolphins, under Ross especially, have had a series of, we hire the assistant who's never been a head coach before. Jets did it, Bowles, Masala, keep going back. You can go back 20 years. Herm's first job, Mangini's first job. The Dolphins have also done it here under Ross. We can go all the way back, Sperano, Philbin, etc. Pat, is this it's worked out that way with certain organizations, or is this done for a specific reason? And is that reason that first-time head coaches are cheaper and more controllable?
Yeah, and you named all those coaches, and what was the common thread? Nobody won. Every 2 or 3 years, you get another one. And cheaper. And I think sometimes they would never admit this. I think sometimes they know it's cheap. I can control the guy. And if he's any good, after 2 years, I'll give him a contract extension. And then I'll have picked my guy without really taking a financial risk. And the other side of the coin is if you have a search former GM or you have a search firm, their interests are different than maybe ownership. If the GM is running the search and he doesn't want to surrender any power, he's going to gravitate to the young guy who's not going to ask offer any power. You offer a head coaching job to a young guy, he's going to take it. How many young guys that have never been head coaches say, nah, I like the interview, but I don't really want to be here? They never say that. So you can get a confirmation, you can get what you want, and then you probably lose for a couple of years and fire him.
Pat, obviously, after the end of week 18, we fire coaches. That's what happens in this league. But man, oh man, I know you had said, let's start the play. When we talked on Friday, let's start the playoffs and let's not even worry about week 18. I think we could take that statement back because week 18 for a one-time thing really delivered, Pat.
Oh, my goodness. Sunday night, I was on a plane, and, you know, someone wanted to talk to me, and I go, look, I really can't talk. I go, no offense. We can talk the next time I'm on this flight, but not tonight, not with this game on. So you're right, Mark. Plenty of entertainment. And so the Raiders are a good example. They win the game. We can argue about the tie and the Chargers' decisions. The biggest decision they made that I had a problem with was 4th and 18. But, you know, fire the analytics guy. But that head coach out there, he's been talking about how real people know why I do these things. Okay, got it. You're not in the playoffs now. And you called timeout. So I look at all this and go, yeah, very entertaining. Now, the Raiders, I already talked to some of their guys. Those guys are going to be on a plane on a short week and go out to play a Saturday night game. If they were to win that, you know, look how I was on talking to Quentin yesterday, Quentin Jefferson. He said, I'm exhausted. There were 70 pass plays in that game that the Raiders had to defend. 70. He was on the field for like 55 or something. And he said, I'm exhausted. So they're going to have a short week. They're going to get on a plane, go play a game in Cincinnati, then come back. And if they were lucky enough to win, which I don't think they will, they're going to run out of gas. Tower always likes to talk about coming from the wild card spot, which they did. But you got to catch a break somewhere along the line and get an easy win, which is not going to happen. Otherwise, it's fairly predictable. I'll ask you guys, without even looking at the 6 games, are you picking any road teams?
Yes.
Yeah, there's 2 that I'll probably pick one of them. And they're both in the NFC, between the Cardinals and the Niners.
Or Arizona.
Exactly. Those are the 2 that I will consider. I think the AFC will hold serve.
Yep. So it's just a tough ride, but it's now we're going to see. I don't think we can prove this, but we're going to find out if the 18th game, that was an exciting week, just took enough out of these guys that they can't sustain winning on the road. Coming off of the situation that they had to play 18 games. Now, not a lot of guys played 18 games. COVID took care of that. You got a lot of guys. If you run through the rosters, 15 games, 14 games, a lot of players never played all 17, excuse me.
He's Pat Kirwan. More with Pat. You know, there were some teams that were supposed to be playing this weekend who are not. We will talk to Pat about them and also get the Bucs chances to repeat now that they're the 2 seed. Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio, CBS's NFL Today Show. More with Pat, courtesy of Pinchers, right after this on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Do you have to go on the road, Pat?
They want to go to the championship game and do the show, but I think there's a lot of higher-ups that feel like it's not worth the risk with the COVID stuff.
Right.
Plus, the NFL, I think that's what they're waiting on. The NFL is going to announce the rules and regulations for how this is going to work.
Right. I think those of us in the booth. Sorry.
No, if they limit where we can set up,
right.
There's a couple of stadiums where I think they prefer not to go, if that's the case.
I'll say this, Pat. Cincinnati's got a pretty good little draw here. If there's somebody, you know, I mean, they get the Raiders who are going to have to play on a short week. They get them the first game. They get them at home. Burrow and key players rested last week. And then, I mean, come on, let's be honest. They get Tennessee, who I know finished with the 1, and you know my love affair with the Titans and RT17 and all that. But come on, if you're the Bengals and you got to go on the road, you want to face the Chiefs, the Bills, or the Titans? You'd take the Titans.
I'll take the Titans. So we were ranking the quarterbacks 1 to 14, which I'd love to see you guys do. And I have Tannehill all the way down there like at 11 or 12, and I got Phil Sims doing it, and Bill's going to do it so we can compare notes. But the biggest question is, can really Tennessee come from behind in the fourth quarter in a 2-minute mode? I don't think Tannehill is that guy, and I don't think he can do it. So that's why I'd be happy to play Tennessee, honestly. Now, I don't know if every other team is going to be happy to play them because in the trenches, they're like Georgia. They're like a lot of big dudes.
Did you watch a game on the plane, Pat?
Yes.
Is that a prerequisite for your flights home? There's got to be a TV?
And you know what? I watch the game on my phone when they don't have one, so it works out okay. Your eyes get used to that little screen sometimes, but almost always I have a TV. You know, I haven't changed changing equipment, and as soon as we start having a lot of people on the plane, they'll change us down to a smaller one. And those that typically don't have the TV in them. But on goes the phone. Hey, Mark, are you there?
Yeah.
Your boy Johnny trapped me into flipping the bird at you the other day.
That's quite all right. I'm all right with that. I laughed.
It's not. And I go, hey, we were about 100 yards from the guys I was supposed to meet on the course. I went out late because of the show. And he goes, oh, there's your boys. He goes, flip them the bird. And he takes his camera and he shoots the picture of me doing it to Louie and then sends it to you.
I laughed. I laughed because I said, we talked about it briefly on air. I said, well, Pat said we're number 1 jokingly. I said, Pat's routine is he hits balls, comes and does our show, and then catches his boys on the back nine. I go, it's fantastic. That
is the name of the game. I've already been on the driving range this morning. I hit about 30 or 40, and then I can see there's a guy waiting for me with a golf cart right outside my car here.
How's the course?
Good, but it's starting to get a lot of play now. You know how it goes.
Oh, yeah.
Here comes the notice to all members. Would you please replace the divots? I think some of these ladies don't want to bend over and put the
I don't know if it's ladies or men at our course. I just laugh. It's the bad players that hits the low screamer into the front of the green that they just never. I fixed 5 ball marks of green. I swear to God, Pat.
30 seconds.
I just walk around
when
and fix ball marks.
Over to fix mine, I won't pass ones that are out there. So I typically have like 3 to 5.
Yeah, every hole.
Every hole. And the last 2 times I played, I've run out of that green junk before I even get done with the front 9.
Oh, he's a digger. Pat's a digger.
10 seconds.
All right, here we go, Pat.
Yep.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
10 minutes or so with Pat Kirwan here on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network. Well, the Colts had two chances to be playing this weekend, at home against the Raiders and then obviously at Jacksonville. Pat, if you are in the hierarchy of that organization here, you going to put all the blame at the quarterback's feet? Because I'll tell you what, that all-world defense didn't deliver the last 2 weeks either. I mean, Pat, these 2 weeks could set that organization back 5 years.
Absolutely. And I have a great respect for Frank Reich. I had him on my team with me for a year. He was awesome. He was a good coach. I would not be changing coaches or GMs. But they've got to do some soul searching about why and what they want to do about it, because that was a setback, to say this. But that's why I love the NFL, because the team like the Jacksonville Jaguars and Pete's team in Seattle and Detroit, it was their Super Bowl, and it wasn't coach talk. The players on those three teams going nowhere decided, and I get it, Detroit got a break when Rodgers sat down. I get it. But you saw three teams with nothing to play for that played hard. And my word of advice to the college kids, and I have no problem with guys not playing in the bowl games, but the one thing they're going to find out in the NFL is guys play the bowl games. They play every game because they know they're on film and they don't want to lose their job or they don't want to be, released. So the Colts really have got a lot of problems if they think they're going to walk into this division. Do I want to blame the quarterback? That's your question. I think there's going to be a heavy price to pay for having Wentz and what they did to get Wentz and how they put their eggs in his basket. If you have a great one, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, the owner doesn't know, really. He thinks he knows, but he doesn't know how much those guys cover up and how much those guys basically make things hard to discern how bad things might be. I thought Peyton covered up his offensive line for years. And Andrew Luck's escape skills maybe helped resolve that there wasn't a running back all the time. But when you have a guy that needs support around them, then you find out what little support you have.
Pat, we've talked a lot about Black Monday and the coaches. The Dolphins get rid of Flores, and Ross comes out and says it's not going to be Harbaugh. A couple other reporters said that. What do you think the odds are of Harbaugh ending up in Chicago?
Well, Bill Polian is running the search, right? I don't think that's going to be Bill's kind of guy. You'll have great respect for Jim and what he's achieved. They should ask Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll has told me many times the hardest coach he's ever gone against, college or pro football, is Jim Harbaugh. As he said, he makes it rough on you. So I don't think because of, Bill in the search, they're going to want to do that. Now, my recommendation is you got to hire a GM first and then get rid of his search committee and let the GM hire the coach. If you keep the search committee around, the young GM, if that's what they turn into, what's he going to say? I guess really I'm not the GM because now they're going to hire the coach. So I don't know if the job is setting up as a good job the way it is right now. That's the problem.
Remember, Polian got to Indianapolis after Harbaugh was their quarterback. Polian got there for Peyton. All right. In between the Bills and the Colts, Polian went to Carolina. So, for those thinking, well, wait a minute, weren't Polian and Harbaugh together? Harbaugh was the Colts quarterback, nearly took them to the Super Bowl. No, they missed one another in Indianapolis. Was there's a GM that got let go? Like, I'll say this. I thought Zimmer's, shelf life had run its course in Minnesota, but I was a little surprised they got rid of Spielman. Now, Dolphins fans don't have a great opinion of Spielman, but I was a little surprised that Spielman got let go. Were you?
Yeah, 15 years on the job. Remember, Brad Childress brought Spielman there. And was a rocky road, and then Brad was let go, and a lot of guys thought Rick would be out the door. He wasn't. He survived the storm. What I had heard last week, Dave, you probably heard the same thing, was that there was some contemplation of moving Rick upstairs. Now, we all know what that means. You can have a corner office, you just can't be part of the decision making, and we'll call you the president of the club or vice president, whatever they want to call you. I don't know that to be true, but I was told that that was on the table, and then he's gone. So I bring it up because maybe he said, I'm not interested if that's what you're going to do. They might have had that kind of discussion. If they did, then he's gone. But he'll be, if he wants to work, he will be sought after. He's been around a long time. He knows what he's doing. He's a good team player. I can tell you that. Guys that work with him and for him feel like they work with him. And there's a big difference between that and working for someone. So, yep, I do like him. He's got a lot of kids. He's been here a long time. I think he's going to be pretty good in the media if he wants to do that and enjoy the rest of his life without the grind. I mean, I did it and I liked it. A lot of guys say they'd never do it, and then the next job they get is nowhere near as good as the one they had, and then all of a sudden they're asking me, hey, how do I get into this business?
Pat, you started right before the break of saying how many, what road teams. When you look at this wild card weekend, I'm not going to necessarily get into the games, but the nerves of this schedule. I mean, this is a little 2 Saturday, 3 Sunday, 1 Monday. We're entering a new era of NFL playoffs. How concerned are teams, particularly the ones playing on Monday night?
Well, the league, they've voted themselves. They got paid a lot of extra money, I suppose, from ESPN to put. That was as it was described to me Sunday, that was the Saturday 1:00 game that was moved to Monday night. All right. I don't like that they're doing it from a football perspective. I understand the entertainment value, blah, blah, blah. You better be putting them on late Sunday. Now, what's the problem with that, David? That's a major time slot, isn't it?
Yep.
So you're going to get tempted to not put them where they deserve to go for winning. And that's the problem that comes up next. What do you do with them? You got to do the right thing by the team. You got to give them a shot. The last thing they want, and if they want a problem, here it is. Okay, you put Monday night on the schedule. Now, if you put that team on Saturday and they get blown out, people like me will not stop talking about, what are you doing putting games on Monday night? They work all year to get in the playoffs, and now you hang them out to dry like that. So they better not do it.
Usually, if you look back, if you're a road team week 1 of the playoffs, one of the first 2 weeks, you're going to get a short week. You're either getting it coming out of the chute, and then you get a normal week, or you get an extra day the first week, and then you get the short week in the second round, because they do try to set things up for the 1 seeds. I mean, they really do. And oftentimes a team that wins week 1 is getting a short week because the 1 seeds often play on Saturday. So they get 13 days off, and then you have to play them usually on a short week. We will see where it goes. How big of a deal you think it is for Tampa to end up as the 2? I mean, heck, they could have ended up as the 4. Not only do they get the Eagles, second straight year they're going to start their run facing an NFC East team, but also potentially to get that divisional game at home as well. How big of a break do you think the Bucs caught here?
A good one. And, as I said yesterday, keep in mind a little slip by Green Bay, and all of a sudden you have the championship game at home. So there's a lot of reasons to want to be the 2. I don't think they'll have a problem with Philadelphia. Just got to stop the run there. Now, what would really benefit them is if a wild card won in the NFC. They'll probably perceive that as a better opportunity. So we're talking about San Francisco or Arizona. I would think they'd love to see Arizona beat the Rams and then come play them. I like it. Now, they're getting players back, right? They need to get their pass rushers back. These playoff games, whether it's Kyler Murray, or Stafford, we've heard about him forever. you're going to need pass rush, and they haven't really had it for a while. And it sounds like JPP will be back. Levante David's the big question mark there. They got enough running backs that are half healthy that they can get through that. So I think they're okay, but I don't like them to go the distance this year. They're older, and they are not healthy. Dr. Chow was on yesterday. I should get him hooked up with you guys. He ranked every team in the playoffs by health and potential health this weekend, and then he'll do it again next weekend. He had Tampa way down on the health meter.
Who did he have number one as the healthiest team entering the playoffs?
Kansas City, I think, of this week's game. So he's just, he's on top of every injury. He studies the tapes of them. He knows what's going on medically. He's almost always right about time to return to the lineup. I'll get you his list and I'll send it to you, Mark, because he's ready to talk medical all the time.
Pat Kirwan's always ready to talk football with us here on Miller and Moulton. Pat joining us Tuesdays and Fridays during the season. Pat will rejoin us. We'll go through the games on Friday. Pat, enjoy your week in Florida. We'll talk Friday.
Take care, my friends. Thank you.
Hit them straight, Pat.
Yeah,
Pat
tell those
Kirwan.
card guys I think they're number one, too.
Pat Kirwan, weekday afternoons, moving the chains on NFL radio. He, along with Jim Miller, and he joins us Tuesdays and Fridays during the season, courtesy of Pinchers. From Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. I don't disagree about the Bucs. I mean, you compare last year to this year in terms of health. Remember, nothing but road games last year. Could have 2 home games this year. I think it's tough to ask for the Packers to lose. I mean, I think you probably, if you're a Bucs fan, thinking we got to go back.
It's never tough to ask. I will tell you, it's easy to ask, David.
Gotcha.
Tough to deliver
there
on.
You
I
go.
think
Sorry.
I think you're onto something there. I'll tell you, all bets are off if San Francisco wins their first game, though.
Well,
San Francisco presents problems for Green Bay.
Well, they present problems for everybody.
Well, I understand that.
They really do.
But they're the team that, of all the teams at the bottom end, if they were to win this week, they, to me, are the scariest week 2 team because they're so physical. They run the ball. I just would be interested to see if the Niners can get it done.
Well, for those that watch that Christmas Day game, what the Browns did to the Packers defense, San Francisco would look at that and go, yeah, we're going to do the exact same thing. And B, we're going to keep running the ball. And C, Jimmy Garoppolo is a lot better than an injured Baker Mayfield. So, yes, I do think it would be a big test for the Packers. I don't think the Cowboys are thrilled about seeing the Niners come to town. And I don't think Green Bay would be thrilled of all their potential opponents. The Eagles, the Niners, the Cardinals, or the Rams. I actually think of all of them, the team they'd least like to see is San Francisco. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us here on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I have the
Brought to you by McWilliams Buckley and Associates, particularly Associate Mark Miller. To list or buy a property, email mark@millerandmoulton.com. Hey, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Thanks for all the follows there, everybody, this morning. If I don't get to you right away, it's because, one, we're doing a live radio show, and two, the system we use does not show me who follows immediately as Twitch does. We're on StreamYard to send it to Twitch and Facebook and YouTube, so I don't see that as quickly. So if you're all still there, to Seminoles 5152, Outfield Joe, and Southwest Florida Raider, thank you all for the follows this morning. David and I have a bet.
Yes.
He's taking a huge under. I have made a huge leap of faith. We're at 671 followers as of this moment. I said we're going to be at 1,000 by the 4th of July.
And I said,
David says I am crazy.
No blanket
nuts.
way. We're picking up like one a day.
Yeah.
All right.
First off, the draft show will pick up at least 100.
I'm going under. I don't know what to tell you.
But
we're going to double our affiliates next week. All right. God forbid we actually start cooking with heat here. Philly gets all his young friends to follow us. No, you got a chance. You could rig this. You could definitely rig this.
Well, I think if I start really playing NHL hockey on Twitch.
Oh, now come on. Now that's just cheating.
I mean,
if
if
all of a sudden you're going to play an effing video game.
Do you know the reason I'm scared to do it? Of what would come out of my son and his friends' mouths?
Why? It's on Twitch. You can say anything.
Yeah.
Rage.
I know what. I'm not even worried about. I'm worried about one of them saying a wrong word. I know how kids talk to one another.
One minute.
Is that how it works, Adam?
$20.
Oh. Adam's a great cheer. He gives us money every day, Adam. We thank you for it.
Unbelievable.
Adam has filled up each of our tanks at least once.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, In our bonus hour, a gentleman who covers the Georgia Bulldogs and was at the national championship game, Ryan Curley, to join us in about 40 minutes' time. How about them dogs? They got it done. They climbed the mountain. First championship since the Carter administration 41 years ago. 20 unanswered in the fourth to beat Alabama 33-18. 12th championship in 16 years for the SEC. Nick's got half of them. Florida 2, LSU 2, Cam's Auburn team, and Stetson Bennett the fourth's Georgia team, even though they won it mostly with that defense. College football, the focus of our poll question, Mark.
Yes. How are you with college football? And the question is, what's the biggest problem you have with the sport today? The transfer portal, name, image, and likeness, SEC dominance, and everything is fine. I love it. Everything is fine is winning.
A majority or no?
Oh, hell no.
Okay.
I mean, come on. We're giving people 3 opportunities to complain, David. They're going to take one of them.
I mean, put it this way. Everything is fine. Is it at 40%?
No, 37.5%.
Okay.
The transfer portal is next at a little over 27%.
Okay.
And that doesn't surprise me. That seems to be, David, I don't know about you, but when I'm out and about, when I'm talking to other sports fans, the transfer portal has people bothered. Much more so than NIL right now, than the name, image, and likeness.
Which is funny, okay, because I would have thought that the blatant money, but maybe the fan is realizing that all we're doing is taking what was under the table and behind the scenes and now bringing it front and center.
David, what I want to do is I want to save. I don't typically leave questions pinned to my profile. I may leave this one for a while. I would really like to remember to ask this question after next year's national championship game.
Okay.
When Alabama beats Georgia for the national title next year.
Come on now.
I'm having a little fun.
I know that.
But I think a year from now, people are going to have a little more of an issue with name, image, and likeness. I mean, I keep bringing up 3 big things on the show. What the Gators are doing, what Kentucky's doing, what Texas is doing. Because those seem to be the 3 that got it together the quickest.
So all 3 SEC schools is what you're saying.
Right. But when Ohio State has theirs in line,
right,
by next year, if there are 3 that really seem to have their act together,
right,
I think it's going to be more like 30 or 35 have their act together a year from now.
I don't know if A&M has it together. They just calling all their donors saying, this is how much money we need. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure, fine. Just let us know.
They haven't, to my knowledge, set up their charitable organization yet, but they're in the midst of doing so.
Right.
SEC dominance is a close third, just an eyelash or so behind the transfer portal at a little over 26%. And then name, image, and likeness, less than 10% have a problem with NIL. Well, I think name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal, if we did this a year from now, David, would be vastly different.
I do think that the SEC dominance, though, and there's not much that can be done about that. I mean, you know, come on, Ohio State. Come on, Michigan. Come on,
Penn State.
Well, Florida State, Miami.
Right.
Come on now. You know, just USC. Come on now. Let's pick it up. It's time. It's time. SEC's not going anywhere. I do think, however, they are going to start beating each other up. I do think that the SEC is going to look a little bit like the NFL.
David, right now, according to VegasInsider.com, both Alabama and Georgia are 2-1 co-favorites to win the 2022-2023 title. Ohio State at 6-1, Clemson at 8-1. After that, the next closest teams are at 35-1.
Come on now. Where's A&M?
35-1.
Wow.
Along with Oklahoma, USC, and Michigan. I could not run to place a bet on Texas A&M fast enough based on that.
Wow.
Florida, Oregon, Texas, all at 50-1. How in the hell can Texas be? Texas should be at 500-1.
They did lose at home to Kansas.
I mean, that just shows you what gamblers just blindly bet. Notre Dame has worse odds to win the Natty than Texas.
It's betting brands, baby.
Boy, is that ever right.
That shows you how big that Texas brand is. To most of us, we snicker, but it is out there. It is real.
The Gators 50-1, the Canes 100-1, Florida State 200-1.
Am I the only guy that believes Mike Norvell's doing a good job?
Yes.
I really like the job he's
Outside of
doing.
Mrs. Norvell, I think you are, David.
I'm fine with the job he's doing. I really am. Being able to recruit up against all those losing seasons, how he's doing in the transfer portal, I'm fine with it. I do think that, knock on wood, that the big three in this state, and don't get angry at me, UCF fan, I'm just talking about the big three, that, they got their acts together now. All of them. They got the coaches that they want. They're fully committed financially.
And
give it a little bit of time at all three places to play catch up here. And I don't know how patient all three places will be. I think Miami will be the most patient. But I do think you're set up here.
And David, I think you're right. And you could argue that the last 24 to 48 hours have been terrible for UCF. Because the thing UCF needs, David, for there to be a big four in the state is for playoff realignment to happen, for playoff expansion to happen, for UCF to get in the Big 12 sooner than later. Because their path is very muddled still. The moment they expand this playoff and that the top 5 division champs go, they're a part of the system. They're not a part of the system, despite Cincinnati going to the playoff this year. Despite Cincinnati actually playing Alabama maybe better than Michigan played Georgia. It doesn't matter.
The thing that would concern me the most if I'm a UCF fan is I need this conference realignment thing to happen. Get me Oklahoma and Texas out of this Big 12.
Well,
I want to play in that Big 12.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
I know.
The last 48 hours killed them. They want this sucker moving along.
And if you haven't heard, there is virtually no news out of Indianapolis. The commissioners can't agree on the new playoff at all. That there are 3 cliques of at least 3 teams each in every clique, or 3 conferences each. That's obviously a problem because they need a unanimous vote. There's 11 of them, 10 conference commissioners, and Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick. Swarbrick, by the way, is aligned with Sankey and the big boys. Notre Dame's fine with the playoff getting bigger and Notre Dame basically never having a home game. They're fine with that. They really are. Because they think it will benefit them, a bigger playoff. They'll be in it more often. Like this year's team would have been in it. Would have had to go on the road in the first round. They would have been okay with that. Maybe they win, maybe they don't.
Well, actually, Notre Dame would have probably gotten a home game.
I don't think they're allowed to.
Oh, that's right. Because they're only going to give home games to division champions. That is correct.
Right. Conference champion. And since they're not a conference champion, they wouldn't have a home game.
Making it very NFL. I keep saying division champions. That is very bad of me.
Now, maybe they would get a home game. Maybe it's just that you can't get a bye. That's it. Actually, I misspoke. Notre Dame could get a home game, but they can't be one of the top 4 that get a bye.
Right. So they would have had a home game this year.
Yes,
they would have been seeded 5. They would have been seeded 5 through 8, somewhere in that.
Absolutely, they would have. So they would have had a home game. And, in theory, they would have won it. And then they go on the road to face, whoever. And if they had played 3 or 4, maybe they would have won. Notre Dame, Michigan in a second-round game, either in a bowl or, God forbid, they actually put it on
You mean
campus.
right after they beat Michigan State in their first game would have been pretty good up there. David, I had to make a little trip yesterday, as I pointed out yesterday in the show. For whatever reason, the county that I live in decided not to have school Monday or Tuesday, and so my daughter spent the night at my mom's last night. I drove her literally at 7:45.
Okay,
so I listened to about 15 minutes. I'm fiddling around with the radio.
Right.
And I happened to tune into the Alabama pregame show.
Eli Gold.
And it really made me think of the playoff in these road games because Eli starts talking about Indianapolis and the weather. It's 20 degrees outside. It feels like 11. But thankfully, we're under the dome. We didn't even have to walk outside from the and they go through and paint a wonderful picture of Indianapolis. But Eli Gold says, But at least we don't have to play in that weather. And as I was driving around, I'm going, but what if you did?
Right. Yep.
I think today, collectively, as angry as Big 10, Big 12, and Pac-12 fan is, I think there are fans in Oregon, Ann Arbor, Madison, Columbus going, not so much Columbus because they'll have a bye and they'll never really think they're going to play in that 1 through that 5-12 game, if you know what I mean, David. But I think there are a lot of Penn States, a lot of schools going, could we just get one of you to come up here once? Just once in the cold. And, hey, that Georgia team, if they were to bet a, or if it would have been an A&M as a 12 seed or something like that, they might very well go beat a 5 seed.
Hey, Ohio State might have hosted Ole Miss, something like that, in a 6-11, 7-10 game.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that to them. They don't think that'll ever happen, though. This was an anomaly.
Right.
David.
No, I know that.
But, yeah, I just think deep down they're going, couldn't we get one of these outside just once?
I think it'll all happen. I really do. I don't think it'll be good for the sport that it's going to happen. Apparently not before 2026.
Bill King was on our show this morning. We consider him the voice of college football, and Bill is in lockstep with David. Definitely thinks expansion's happening, but does believe that this current system could carry itself all the way through until this contract is up.
That these alliances, they may work for now, and these conference commissioners may feel good about themselves, but when the SEC is continuing their dominance and in the next 4 seasons, maybe twice getting 2 of the 4 spots, you got to think these alliances are going to break down by 2025. The other thing that's going to happen is the only good thing I believe, Mark, that is going to come out of these guys' dysfunction is the college football playoff, I think, is going to look a lot like the NFL playoffs. I don't think the 4-letter network's going to run this sport anymore.
And I think that's great for the sport.
Well, it's going to get a lot more money. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, ESPN was not going to be able to pony up what we're going to end up with when CBS can buy a playoff game or 2, NBC could buy a playoff game or 2. Fox will definitely want to get in.
But look what just happened this year in the NFL. A lot because of the Nickelodeon game. David, for the first time, the networks had really no say in what happened this weekend. Here's your game. Here's your slot. Here's what you get.
Right.
And that, I think, is what will happen in college football largely. Fox, you're going to get the noon game. Here's what it is.
The other thing that could happen, you wait 4 more years. I mean, what came out last night? Apple is going to get in the live sports broadcasting business. They're going to broadcast Major League Baseball. Amazon next year's all in. They're doing Thursday night football, 14 or 15 games at over $1 billion a year. Thank you very much. And so you get 2, 3, 4 years from now when college football is sitting down. I mean, if Apple and Amazon have created sports networks, if you know what I mean, and they're broadcasting live sports, and by then maybe we're accepting of it, there's CBS money and there's Amazon money.
Boy, can you imagine Naples and St. Petersburg having to deal with Apple TV and Amazon Prime for these games? The two of the oldest markets in the country.
Where are my Buckeyes?
What? Apple? What? No, I don't like green apples. I like red apples.
Apple TV, Grandma. Apple TV.
No, I have apples and I have a television. I don't want an apple that looks like a television.
I like bananas.
A lot easier to chew and to digest.
Miller and Moulton. Tampa St. Pete, have a great rest of your day. The bonus hour's next.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for
The
details.
Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Nope.
Somebody must have retweeted it. By the way, Louisiana and Alabama trying to get sports gambling.
How about New York? As of this past Saturday.
No, David. I know, but that's New York. They've been working. I just said Louisiana and Alabama.
Well, the Louisiana part's not the now. The Alabama part, right? That's a big deal.
Daniel Wallach tweeted they're trying to get it a lottery and basically saying betting on football is lottery.
I don't know if Felipe, if you're aware, there's no lottery in Alabama. You cannot buy a Powerball ticket.
Really?
Nick Saban a few years ago was at the Powerball was like $1 billion, and Nick Saban looked right at him and said, "What are you talking about?
What's the Powerball?"
Because everywhere he goes around the state, there are no billboards about Mega Millions and Powerball and what have you. And he's been there since 07.
Something about Nick Saban not knowing what the hell that is just cracks me up.
What are you talking about? We're talking about the Powerball.
The what?
He looks right at him.
3-year Letterman. The oldest and greatest college football team in the oldest and greatest country on earth just won a national championship game that was watched by over 10 billion people. Wow. God, I love him.
By the way, I'm sure this national championship game did really well.
No.
Terribly.
Do very poorly.
Did terribly.
Are you kidding me?
The whole Midwest won't give a crap. The whole West won't care.
The only reason that it might come up with any kind of a number is because Georgia won. It was a close game, and Georgia won in the second half. I think it'll be better than we think, but it will not be good.
So what is okay?
Ohio State against anybody.
From a marketing standpoint, that's
Yes.
the dream matchup.
Ohio State. Number one draw in the sport.
ESPN desperately wanted Michigan to beat Georgia. Desperately wanted them to win.
Michigan, Bama.
Michigan, anybody. Ohio State, anybody. Ohio State moves the needle the most. We don't know how much Michigan moves the needle because they've been bad for so long.
Hypothetically, what do you think a Notre Dame national championship would do?
Would you do huge numbers because Notre Dame is big and Miami moves the needle? I think they used to. Got to remember, you don't remember them ever being good, so we've missed a generation.
Yeah, it's very sad.
The long first half, Bourbon. I'll tell you what. David said he went down at halftime for about 20 minutes and woke up third quarter. I fell asleep on Bama's first drive of the third quarter.
I think it was almost 10 o'clock at halftime.
10-10.
10-10, yeah.
Well, they went to half at 9:49.
That's ridiculous.
So they came out of it. It was 10 after 10 for the second half kickoff.
Klecko. Really.
I forget who it was who was wondering about Kellen Moore. Like the Jags want to interview him. The Broncos have requested to interview him. No. He's getting interviews. Here's the thing about Kellen Moore. It would not shock me if Jera does the same thing with Kellen Moore that he did with Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett, I think, kind of knew if he stayed there as offensive coordinator, he'd be head coach one day. I think Jera could do the same thing to Kellen Moore. Hey, no reason to leave. Whenever I get done with Mike, you're the guy. You know who I think's going to get a job? Dan Quinn's going to get a job, and Dan Quinn should get a job.
15 seconds. Bourbon, I don't think it was boring. I think it was just physical.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday after the national championship. The Dogs winning their first title since the Carter administration. Herschel was a freshman. The year was 1980. A few things have changed since then. But the Dogs scored 20 unanswered, and they beat Bama 33-18. The aftermath of Black Monday. Fins fan, how you holding up? Does it feel a little better today than yesterday, or has it actually made you angrier? Because, Mark, let me tell you, Brian Flores getting fired broke during the bonus hour yesterday, and the initial reaction was anger.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, outside of the Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan base that's listening, right? Because we don't have a lot of Georgia fans. I know there's a handful. I'm not trying to say that there aren't any Dog fans listening. But explain to me in our listening audience the happy fan base right now. Gators, Knowles, Canes? Nope. Dolphins? Nope. Gators? Hell no.
Right.
I mean,
today's a bad day for a Gator fan.
Really bad day.
And some of them are actually Dolph fans also.
Oh, no,
so
I'm aware of that.
Monday, January 10th, literally was for them Black Monday.
Horribly. So, I mean, I thought about this during the second half yesterday, this whole Florida Sports Network thing. And, we're pumped. You and I are so excited about what it is we're doing and where it is we're going with this show. And the fact that on Monday we should be doubling the size of our network. And I'm thinking about all these Florida folks. And unless you're a Bucs fan right now, which there are far more Dolphin fans than there are Buck fans in the state. There are far more Gator fans than any other college football team in the state. Not to mention if you're a Knoll or a Cane. There's not even the hope part of it, David. Winning or hope. And I know there's new coaches, but maybe the Canes fan, it's so new you have hope. The Gator fan right now doesn't have a lot of hope. More frustration than anything else.
Canes fans trying to say, hey, we got Cristobal. All right, I'm not that bummed. I think we're coming back. There are a couple Gator fans in our Twitch chat room going, listen, I'm not happy, but I did take the Dogs and lay the 2.5 to 3. So at least I got a little something out of it.
And think about that. You're a Gator fan and you made money betting on the University of Georgia.
Right. Not saying I'm happy about it, but I will take the cash. Dead struck here in our Twitch chat room about the Dolphins. I'm less angry, but I'm more despondent.
And that's the worst.
That lingers longer.
That's worse.
That's very honest. I'm less angry, but I'm more despondent. I'd be angry. In fact, I kind of am, because you and I have said it for a generation. We really would like the team in South Florida to be good in the NFL. It would make our lives better.
The fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won a Super Bowl and that the Dolphins still seem to be in the same relative abyss that they're in would be so concerning for me, and I'm a Dolphin fan. This has been a rough 24, 48 hours for a Dolphin fan.
And Dolphins going, you mean 20 years? The Bucs have won 2 Super Bowls since we last won a playoff game.
Yeah, they're very much a Florida Marlins, Miami Marlins now, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. A lot of bad in between those, David. But they got the parade not once but twice since the Miami Dolphins have won a playoff game.
Let me tell you. I mean, granted, it's our personalities, but I mean, you and I are willing to work through, live through conflict more than most. I mean, people don't like conflict. I mean, they just don't. I think, going to go a little off tangent here, but I think it's part of why we have such groupthink in this country right now about everything. People don't even they like to scream and yell if they can do the screaming and yelling, but they don't want to hear a differing point of view back. People now congregate around other people who think the exact same way as them. It used to be in this country for the longest time, you actually sat around and had dinner with people with differing views. Why? It made the conversation interesting.
Well, that was before Facebook, where we can just align ourselves with people that thought the exact same thing we did.
And so if you think about what just happened in Miami, there apparently was conflict between the head coach and the general manager. And there's no doubt Brian Flores is clearly not an easy guy to work with. He's gone through 4 offensive coordinators, 3 defensive coordinators. I mean, he's not a perfect coach, but he clearly is a leader of men. They were 1-7 and played their you-know-what off for him. I mean, he's clearly a leader of men. That's the biggest part of the job. But Stephen Ross just admitted, he goes, we had too much conflict. All right. I had to make the change on the betterment of the organization. And you and I are like, no.
Because you and I have both seen teams with a tremendous amount of internal conflict excel on the field. Conflict doesn't have to be hate. Conflict can actually be everybody trying their best to get to pull the rope in the same direction. And sometimes you have different ideas on how to do it. And sometimes collectively, you have to figure that out as a group to get better. In Miami, what they did is, instead of figuring out as a group how to get better, they cut bait with somebody.
Right.
And said, we're going to get better in spite of it. And it's not worked for them.
No. And what also now would really concern me is the first couple names that have come out for the Dolphins opening are never been a head coach before guy. Hot coordinator guy. The Dolphins have done this ever since Wanstead resigned. I mean, Wanstead won. He had been a head coach before. He took the Bears to the playoffs a couple times. All right. And he inherited what he inherited from Jimmy and had 4 straight seasons where they won 40 games, went to the playoffs twice, won a playoff game. But think about since Wanstead, Cam Cameron, hot coordinator.
Butterflies.
1-15. They bring in Tony Sperano, got the 1-11-5 year, never been a head coach before, and then 3 straight losing seasons. He was never a head coach again, God rest his soul, because he passed away a few years ago.
And was a great line coach,
yes,
and a terrific coach, and by all accounts, a wonderful person, but he wasn't a head coach.
And in fact, the Dolphins could use him now because they need a great O-line coach. All right. After Tony Sperano, who was it? Joe Philbin. All right. Longtime coordinator, mostly with Green Bay. Couldn't get them over the hump. Then Adam Gase, hot coordinator.
How's that worked out?
Had the 1 year right away. I mean, and we've seen it. Sperano first year had success. Gase first year had success. Was better early than late for Philbin.
And Flores, even in the first year, after the teardown, enjoyed some success by the end of it.
But I mean, man, oh man. I mean, in the last 2 years, here's the other thing. I don't think there are 10 teams in the NFL that in the last 2 years won more games than the Dolphins.
And what's the first thing they do when they're looking at the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator? That's the first name that's popped up.
Yeah.
And this is why, David, when I see that they're keeping Greer, it certainly at least appears from the way I look at it, David, that they're not going to fix it, that they are merely just kicking the can down the road, because at some point, the coach and the GM have to be on the same page. You cannot bring them in separately. It doesn't work.
Listen, Brian Daboll may be great as a head coach, but how in the world are you going to hire somebody who's never done it before when this organization's teetering once again? What direction is it going to go? I can't take a chance on somebody right now. You got to give me somebody who's done this and won. Jim Caldwell has done it and won. Took the Colts to a Super Bowl. You're not going to give him credit for that because he inherited what he inherited from Dungy? Fine. 3 winning seasons in 4 years in Detroit. Try to dismiss that. All right, Doug Peterson.
They haven't had a winning season since, I don't think, by the way.
Take a look at Doug Peterson. Inherited a mess in Philadelphia. First year, they go like 5-11, 6-10, something like that. And then he has 4 straight winning seasons, and they go to the playoffs every time. Oh, by the way, Carson Wentz looked like a franchise quarterback when he was there. They won a Super Bowl. He played for the Dolphins, by the way. He was the winning quarterback when Shula broke Hallis's record. Look it up. Dan Quinn took the Falcons to the Super Bowl. Say that out loud, by the way. The Falcons. I mean, please tell me you're hiring one of these guys.
And your first interview that we hear about is another coordinator.
Come on. Give me somebody who's done this before and has had some success and won a playoff game in over 20 years. Stop messing around. All right, I feel better.
Miller and Moulton, not messing around when it comes to the Miami Dolphins. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap, still all ahead.
Ryan Curley covers the Dogs, was in the Dome last night.
And he heard a lot of go Dogs. Sick 'em. Woof, woof, woof.
See what kind of voice he's got left. He'll join us next. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
How much you willing to give up for Sean Payton? You want to talk about a Godfather offer. You got to remember what it took to get Gruden away from the Raiders. I mean, it was 2 1s, 2 2s. How much you willing to give up for Sean Payton? Listen, I would do it.
You're saying if you're the Dolphins, how
Yeah.
much?
Deadstruck here in our Twitch chat room. He wants him to make a big offer. Okay, what are you willing to give up?
Well, I had no idea that Doug Peterson played for the Dolphins.
Yeah. He was, if you look it up, I believe Shula won his record game. I thought Hallis won like 323 or whatever. And when Shula passed him, I'm pretty sure it was 93. It was the year Marino got hurt. blew out his Achilles. And so they had Jaworski, they had Peterson, they had a bunch of guys they were throwing in there trying to win games with. I think it was Scott Mitchell even, or he might have moved on by then. But I'm pretty sure that Doug Peterson was the winning quarterback the day that Shula broke Hallis's record in Philadelphia. Which really embodied Shula's greatness, that he was so flexible as a coach, right, that he could, it's one thing to have Greasy and Marino and break the record, but he went to Philadelphia in '93 and they were still good. He went to Philadelphia with Doug Peterson and won.
Well, why not bring Doug?
Yeah, by spreading the picks out over the next 3 years, you do know what the Saints would say. Yeah, we want your first round pick each of the next 3 years.
Yeah, you don't have one this year, though. That's all he's saying.
Well, they have the is it the Niners? Who's the
that's
pick
right. They have the Niners.
Is it the Niners? Yeah, they have the Niners, right? For the Trey Lance, right?
Yeah.
They moved out for Lance. Yeah, they went from 3 to
20,
12.
They're right now 22nd if they lose.
Right. You got the Curly info, Felipe? Okay.
In Indy?
I'm assuming. And C Curly is his Twitter.
I went to voicemail, but I'll call him back.
I think Jim Schwartz should get another look. But
all right. Need one more good thing to happen today. About to have my first listing.
All right.
He's got the paperwork, just need him to sign it. We were going to list this for like $380 6 weeks ago.
And now you're going to list it for
$480. $489 actually.
Well, that's a good 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll make you a couple shekels.
I'm giving him 30% of mine because he's a realtor. So that's the deal I worked out with him. He's a realtor in another state. So
I think like 10. I was going to say, so what are you going to end up with overall? About 2%?
I mean, I think 3 is like 14. Yeah. So it's like 10. It's like
some here, some here.
Yeah. Well, it's 6 total. I get 3, which is like almost 15. He gets about 5 of them.
Hey, we're back in 10. He keeps sending me to voicemail. I'll keep trying to call.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"19 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. The good, bad, and ugly. Today was the day when, what's on tap, closing thoughts, all coming up in around 20 minutes time. Is there a head coach, by the way? We've had a few people text line, Twitch chat room there who want teams to trade for a head coach. Is there a head coach that you would give up a couple of first-round picks for?
Well, I mean, obviously Belichick.
Well, okay, that's
But if someone that you could actually get.
Because remember, we didn't think John Gruden was available 20 plus years ago from the Raiders. And then the Bucs said, yeah, I'll give you 2 1s and 2 2s. And I'll throw in a few $1,000,000 just for the heck of it.
Not me. I wouldn't be.
Mike Tomlin?
No.
Okay. Sean Payton?
Not what you're not your 2 1s and 2 2s.
Well, and I don't know if the price will be that high.
A draft pick, but 4 draft picks for a coach would never happen in a million years in my world.
Okay, how about 2 first-round picks and a player? Spread out, obviously, over 2 years. Okay, would you give up 2 firsts and a good player?
For Sean Payton, I'd definitely consider it.
I'd do it. I'd do it.
I mean,
absolutely.
To be frank with you, if I'm Miami, as long as that player's not Tua, because I'm bringing him in for Tua, ideally.
Right.
Yeah, I'd make that for Sean Payton. I need my offense to go, David.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm trying to think who the player would be, but
Howard.
It's a good player. Yeah, the Saints may think he's too expensive, but I know what you get. Let's pick just a good player on the Dolphins.
Even Waddle.
Ooh, now there you go. Okay, now
because they need a receiver.
Yes, they do.
You know what I mean?
That's
I'm
really good.
Trying to give you something that works.
That's fair. That's meat on the bone, the whole deal. Okay. I like it. 2 1s and Waddle for Sean
Would you
Payton.
take that if you were New Orleans?
No. I will say it's difficult for people who are Saints fans. You have to understand how popular Sean Payton is. I mean, you really do. This franchise had never won. I mean, Mora made them respectable. They made the playoffs. They finally won a playoff game. But, I mean, Sean Payton has won a Super Bowl. Sean Payton has taken them to, I think, 5 NFC championship games. I mean.
No, you just asked me to make a trade.
Right.
I got you a trade that you liked, and then you looked right back. And this is what I will say, and I'm not doing this to mock you. This is actually the truth. You just told me what you wanted.
Right.
I gave it to you, and then you went, I don't think that's enough. No, but this is what happens in a trade.
Right. Like all of a sudden you call up the Saints and you're like, hey, I'll give you 2 1s and Waddle. Okay. And at first glance, they may go, well, that's actually kind of what I was going to ask for. But then you have to think about life without Sean Payton. And he's not just a coach there. All right. He's not. I mean, and the fact that he has stayed this long. I mean, remember, he and Breeze arrived together when 2006. He's been with the Saints a year longer than Nick's been with Alabama. I think Belichick's the only guy who's been at his stop longer.
Tomlin.
Well, Tomlin came in actually 2007 was Tomlin's first year.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Because Cowher won the Super Bowl in 2005, coached an 8-8 season in 2006, and then walked away. So, I mean, it's Peyton's second in seniority, and then Pete Carroll, I think, came to Seattle like a couple of years after that. So, and Andy, I think, has been in KC for a little over 10 years. But now, me, I would do it. I would do it. If I could keep Tua, I would do it. Absolutely, I would do it.
So I'm going to give you a little behind the curtain right now. We have been asked, and I have failed miserably at doing this, of getting information for this new website we're launching. One of the things they asked for is 20 sports predictions for the upcoming year. I don't know if I'm going to give them predictions. I'm going to have a sports dream that I want 5 David Moultons to become general managers. I don't care what sport.
I don't know if you can handle it.
Oh, I could handle it. I don't know if the sports world could handle it. It would be like Black Monday every day if there were 5 of you in charge of teams.
I'm not living in the middle. I've lived my whole life in the middle. If I'm running a school, a franchise, we are not going to be in the middle. We are either going to be big up or we tear the sucker all the way down and start over. We are not living in gray.
You're the Marlins.
Yes. But I wouldn't.
And I don't know.
I wouldn't take the job. I Even me, I wouldn't take the Marlins job. But wait a minute. You're only going to allow me $7.12 to spend every year? Yeah, I can't do this job.
But David, that's, ultimately you as a GM you'd get up on the podium and say, we're going to be a lot like the Miami Marlins. Because my idea is we're either going to be great or there's no sense of being in the middle. I'll sell off parts to try to get great in 3 years if I know I don't have enough to win now. And that is a tough relationship to have with the city.
Here's the other reason why I do Sean Payton. Okay, assistant coaches would come to work with Sean Payton. Really good assistant coaches would come to Miami. He'd have a great staff. Even if the Saints said you can't take a single coach off our team, which is not how they do things in pro. They do it in college, all right? But like when Nick left Michigan State, they were so honked at him, they basically said, you can't take anybody with you. And, they hired this right-hand guy, and his whole staff stayed. And so Nick started over, hired a bunch of coaches you may have heard of before. Kirby Smart, Jimbo Fisher, Will Muschamp, guys like that.
By the way, yesterday was the first time Nick has had a halftime lead and then lost by double digits since like the 95 Independence Bowl or some crap like that when he was at LSU, and Michigan State actually beat him.
Well, and I know they hadn't lost a game that they led at the half since the Iron Bowl in 2019, I think. So
this goes back to LSU to have a halftime lead and then lose by double digit. Goes back to LSU. He coached in the NFL between now and then.
But yeah, I would actually entertain it. And I know that it rarely happens in the NFL, trading for a coach and all that. But I'll say this if I'm Ross, and he is an owner, mostly for worse, not better, but he is somebody who really cares about what public sentiment and this, that, and the other thing. And also, let's be brutally honest, selling tickets is a problem with that franchise. There's 10 franchises in this league in which selling out is not easy to do. Miami's one of them.
And I think the toughest. And I don't care who he hires at coach. It's only a 1-year fix because Miami's not buying any tickets until they start winning. And I mean winning at the level that right now, let's say the Bills are. They need 3 years like that. I'm not even giving them Patriots, David. I'm not trying to be that crazy. But don't you believe that in order for the Dolphins to have a season ticket base, a real season ticket base, that they would need to accomplish what the Bills have just done? Sneak in, win the division twice. Then by the time the third year came, they'd be back.
There's a part of me, Mark, that thinks that the Miami fan, because think about, they supported obviously the entire Marino era. Why? In large part, Shula was there for most of it, but they were entertaining. They didn't always win, but the Dolphins played a very entertaining style of football. And I do think, like, if you bring Sean Payton to Miami, even if you have to give up what you have to give up, the Dolphins would look good, if you know what I mean. Tua and that offense would score points.
David, maybe. I'm not giving you all those benefits because I think that the OB had a little bit to do with it. Even finishing out there, I think there was nostalgia and generational fan bases. They've lost a generation.
Yes, they have.
And in order to regain that, it doesn't just take entertaining football. It's going to take winning. Miami's a very different city than the one that supported the Dolphins blindly for all their greatness and into mediocrity.
And you're right. Maybe they'd only buy the blind hype for a year or so. But I do think they need it right now. I mean, Flores was just establishing capital with that fan base. He, as we're finding out here in the last 24 hours, and it's almost like 24 hours to the minute that the word came out that Brian Flores had been fired, it seems as if Flores had far more credibility with Dolphin than owner and GM combined.
There is no doubt that is the evidence has been clearly displayed today. This is a pissed off fan base.
Yeah.
And they were in shock 24 hours ago.
Well, they were angry 24 hours ago.
Well, I didn't get the same anger. I got a lot of shock. I got a little bit of anger. By today, it's boiled over. They're honked off. And if Ross doesn't get this right, They've gone backwards in a big way, David.
You know, the other thing that Ross has done, which I think has mishandled this, Ross needed to say, I don't want to be the guy that rips Jim Harbaugh away from Michigan. But he didn't say the but part. He didn't say but if Jim's going to leave, well, then we're going to be the best offer on the table. I mean, that's what, because the word was that Harbaugh chose the Niners and Ross offered him more. I mean, the word was Peyton chose Denver. Ross offered Peyton more. I mean, that if I'm Stephen Ross, I'd say, hey, I love the University of Michigan. You know my respect for Jim Harbaugh. I tried to hire him once before. All right. I'm not going to be the guy to rip him away from my alma mater. Now, if he's leaving, we're going to be the best offer on the table. That's what he should have said. That at least the fan base would be like, well, I ain't crazy you getting rid of Brian Flores. But okay, at least now you're cannonballing in the deep end here. You're at least willing to play ball.
Look, I wasn't as shocked as you when they fired him. I was shocked when he said that they had no interest in Jim Harbaugh. Because when they fired him, I'm like, well, okay. Raiders and Bears were interested, and Ross said, well, no. I'm going to get him. That's my guy.
I got to admit it, until Pat said it, I didn't realize Bill Polian's handling the search in Chicago. Man, if I'm a Bears fan, I don't want any part of that. And I know Bill Polian's a Hall of Fame executive. I still don't want any part of it. It's been a while since Bill Polian's been in the league, number one. And number two, like Pat said, I don't think Jim Harbaugh is Bill Polian's kind of guy. Well, then I don't want Bill Polian. I'm sorry. What part of Jim Harbaugh do you not like? The winning? He's head coach in San Francisco 4 years. Their worst record was 8-8. Take a look at the time before Jim Harbaugh got there. Remember, Mike Singletary was the head coach. And before that, Mike Nolan was the head coach. Take a look at how many winning seasons they had. I'll answer it for you. It's 0. And Jim Harbaugh came in and went to 3 straight NFC championship games. Same roster. I don't think he's his kind of a guy. Well, then you can't make the decisions. I'm sorry. And he is a pain in the word on Jim Harbaugh is, if you think Brian Flores was difficult to deal with, let me give you some Jim Harbaugh. I mean, people who are close to Harbaugh say he's kind of nuts. I mean, he's a handful. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. Once again, this is pro sports. Mark, pro sports is about 2 things. What are they again?
Winning and hope.
Okay, and I was going to say winning and money.
Well, but for the fan base, it's winning and hope. And right now, you're not winning and you have no hope. Good luck, everybody.
I'll say this. Chicago would love Brian Flores. All right. A tough dude. All right. Stand on the sidelines. It's freezing. He won't even have a jacket on. He'd be in that long sleeve shirt, ripped, standing there. They'd be looking out at him going, man, is this Ditka? Are we gonna, is this our guy? He's going to go out there, with his bare hands and just destroy people if things aren't going his way. I mean, I think Bears fan would love Brian Flores. But Miller and Moulton. The good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Final thoughts. Don't forget to vote in our poll question. It's based on college football, and we're basically asking you, what's your biggest beef with college football?
Voting changing by the minute. SEC dominance creeping up on everything is fine.
You got transfer portal, NIL, SEC dominance, and then we do just throw you a little bone and go, I got no problems with college football. I'm good. Is that still number one?
It is, but SEC dominance is looking right at it. Saying it's the second half, everybody, and here I come.
Here's my question. How many of the people voting SEC dominance are actually Gator fans, in which, this SEC dominance didn't bother them until Georgia won? Now this is getting out of hand.
Well, I don't know. I mean, let's see. What were the last 3 titles? Who won them?
That would be Georgia, Alabama, and LSU.
Yeah, I mean, this whole it's all Alabama thing isn't really holding water right now because 2 of the last 3 SEC champs were not Alabama.
12 of the last 16, though, have been SEC. Half of them Bama.
I know. Half not, though. But for those that think it's Alabama and everybody else, it's not.
No, Nick's actually allowed others to make a lot of money. He has. I mean, he hasn't allowed them to make the most money, but he's allowed others to make some money. Miller and Moulton. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when. Thanks so much for listening. Bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Desval, you know what else I miss? Like, desperately miss? The old trophy. Last night made me realize this new trophy sucks. It's weak.
You talking to me or the Twitch?
The Twitch, but I'll mention it to you. The new trophy sucks.
The college football trophy?
It's terrible.
I have to admit, I don't pay much attention to it.
It just, every time I look at it, I think of the BCS championship trophy. The crystal football.
Gotcha.
Iconic.
Why'd they get away from that? Kind of like the...
I mean, it was just a relic of the BCS days, you know?
Right.
And plus, it's got the logo on, the new trophy's got the logo on it, you know? They're real clever with the whole 20, the 0 being the football.
I'll tell you, my wife is really spending money.
Ooh.
She can be good at it sometimes. Your wife good at spending money? My wife very quietly can be good at spending money.
I mean, not nearly. She's not in my league. Not many people are. I mean, I'm good at it.
97.7, is that at Auburn or Bama?
It's in, I think it's technically Southern Tennessee.
Oh, it's at a neutral site.
But it's Alabama. They carry Alabama games.
It is in Tuscaloosa.
No,
the game is. He's asking there's 4 different things going on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny. I was texting my friend who goes to Alabama, graduating this year, and I was like, "You okay?" And he's like, "Bro, in my 4 years here, 3 national championship appearances, 1 championship. Really can't complain."
Exactly.
And I'm like, "Yeah,
Glad he's got some perspective.
must be nice."
Well, Listen, I'm only just starting to get annoyed with the Giants. Seriously. 5 trips to the Super Bowl, 4 wins. I mean,
It's literally taken, well,
took 10 years.
I will say the Daniel Jones pick sped it
Yeah.
up.
No, there's no doubt. That's when it started. I was living in La La Land.
You're like, all right, just get this right and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Oh, no.
We
He had
were
not about. We were at an appearance and David had a meltdown. It was the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my gosh.
in public when they took Daniel Jones. Oh my God.
Gosh. I need to see that.
Live draft show.
Oh, it was. We weren't on the air. We were just doing a live show.
We were doing live hits. We were sitting there. Yep, 6th overall. I forget who it was that I wanted to take, but holy mackerel.
That wasn't the Fletcher Cox year, was it?
No. I had a unbelievable man crush on Fletcher Cox. We did a Mississippi State game late in his senior year, and it was like 2011. And I came back and said to Mark, I go, this guy at Mississippi State is flipping amazing. They double teamed him on every play, and he was like dominating.
I mean, look at him now. But he's like a full 4-time Pro Bowler or something like that.
A really good player.
What was your reaction when they drafted Saquon?
I didn't like it, but I was okay with it. The problem, I mean, if he had stayed healthy, he would have been a good pick. And he never really got hurt at Penn State, but I mean, that's the problem. You take a running back really high, he tears up his knee. There's no way that pick's ever going to be worth that again.
Man, his second year, though.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"19 minutes until the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton on this day after the national championship game. We're down to 13 football games, ladies and gentlemen. May want to start paying attention to the NBA, NHL standings, college basketball. I'm just warning you, you may have to start dipping your toes into that water. Remember, 13 games left, and damn near half of them are this weekend. So it comes at you pretty fast.
I will tell you one thing, though, David. If you're going to go the college basketball route, prepare to be disappointed because COVID is still rampant in college basketball. It did not affect college football nearly the way it's affecting college basketball.
Right. And I think, Mark, that's twofold. One, the college football season came just before, we started getting ramped up with the Omicron and all that. But also, I think they did a lot less testing in football than they're doing in basketball.
Not a doubt in my mind.
So that'll present problems.
Why were the numbers so low? Lack of testing, David.
Right.
Lack of testing.
college,
nobody from Alabama,
No.
Michigan, Cincinnati, or Georgia tested positive.
Right. For COVID. I mean, a couple of coaches, but, weeks in advance. But otherwise, we're good. Really? Well, then could we have the powers that be at those 4 schools, like go to the CDC or the White House? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, explain to me what it is they were doing.
What did you
do?
So
much better than the rest of society,
right?
Particularly with people that age.
Right. What plastic bubble did you devise?
Who are walking petri dishes from every other campus in America. Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. Please, could you explain? Well, actually,
we just didn't test.
Oh! Okay. Gotcha. Wish you had told us that over the phone. We wouldn't have spent the money to fly here. 17 minutes before the hour. Time for
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul, to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When.
Now, I'm not going to go back as far as I did yesterday. I mean, I went back to Julius Caesar, for goodness sakes, yesterday. But I will go back to 1569. First ever state-run lottery in England was this date in 1569. I mean, a lot of people are intrigued by the occasional lottery ticket.
Yeah, I'd run out and get a Mega Millions ticket tonight. It's worth, I think, like 300 schmil.
Right. What's your minimum?
9 digits.
So the 80 million is not much. I mean, I don't even know if I can move the Port Royal for that.
Here's the thing. What I would like to do is be smart enough to just simply buy the same numbers, spend, whatever, $104, or it's twice a week, so $208, 52 weeks, twice a week, and just say, here are my numbers for the year. And then remember to do it annually. Because if not...
All right. Can I let you in on a little secret? All right. My father-in-law passed away a little over 20 years ago.
Right.
My wife...
Still playing those numbers?
Every single time.
Well, those numbers obviously suck.
Thank you!
They're not lucky.
No! And you would think he was a minister. You would have thought he would have had a little something to say, and, we'd win once at $100.
Well, you'd think if they weren't lucky then, now that he's passed on, they'd be lucky now.
Right. I mean, it's got to have a little influence, right? He could at least get an
Apparently
audience. Apparently not.
Apparently the Methodists aren't as big as he thought.
No. I always told you guys you were Catholic light. I'm sorry. That's a good line. 1861, Alabama, the day after Florida did it, secedes from the Union. I mean, in case you didn't know, the South was really serious about this, okay? Where are we going? 1908, Theodore Roosevelt makes the Grand Canyon a national monument. 1946, second NFL commissioner was named Bert Bell. He moved the NFL's headquarters from Chicago to Philly. Ultimately, obviously, they ended up in New York. Mark, 1963, Wilt Chamberlain scored 67 in a loss to the Lakers. He was playing for the San Francisco Warriors, which basically they are now because they, went across the bridge.
Right.
Also on the same date, 1963, the Beatles released Please Please Me and Ask Me Why. A year later, 1964, the very first time the U.S. government linked smoking and bad health. The Surgeon General came out on this day in 64 and said, and I quote, smoking may be hazardous to your health.
Huh.
Wow. You guys are really on top of things. 1967, San Diego granted an NBA franchise to be called the Rockets. 4 years later, that franchise moved to Houston. I never remembered the Rockets being in San Diego.
I was going to ask if they actually ever played there.
I mean, you had the Clippers that were in San Diego. But 1970, on this day, Super Bowl IV at Tulane Stadium. I don't want to say the game's grown or anything. Hank Stram and the Chiefs kept matriculating the ball down the field, 23-7 over the Vikings.
Lenny?
Let's keep pumping them in there, Lenny. Let's keep matriculating it down the field. Ha, 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 ha. That's a pretty good NFL Films impression, isn't it?
Good.
It was on this day in 1973 the American League adopted the DH, about 45 years after the National League wanted to. Mark, I did this for you. 1980, The Pretenders' first album.
Yes, I saw that earlier. I'm glad you did. I was already scheduled to be in my omissions.
Chrissy Hines. The album called Pretenders.
Imagine that.
Billy Martin on this day in 83 named Yankee manager. Guess for what number time?
3?
There you go. Yeah, he'd be named 2 more times. Where are we? 1987. Sorry, Cleveland fans, I got to do this to you. Today was the drive. Elway, 98.5 yards. Danielson, if you're listening, I'm sorry. 23-20 Broncos in overtime.
He teed off a while ago.
1989, President Reagan gave his farewell address. The WB Network was formed on this date in 1995. Became the 5th network at the time. The 5th. So, 2001, I don't want to say the Knicks were bad for basketball or anything, but they held an opponent to under 100 points for the 29th straight game. And they actually lost 76-75 to the Rockets. They broke a record that was established by the Fort Wayne Pistons in 1955. Yeah. That's kind Kind of when they needed maybe to.
It was a rough time for the NBA.
Needed to open the game up a little bit, I think. Simon Cowell left American Idol on this day in 2010. And this has been a good day for Nick. Nick won his 4th national title at Alabama, beating Clemson 6 years ago. And he won his 6th national title last year, beating Ohio State. Mark, people who were born on this day who are no longer with us: Daryl Dawkins, Clarence Clemens would have been 80 today. And Alexander Hamilton was born on this date in 1755. Mary J. Blige is 51 today. Former Dolphin great Richmond Webb is 55. Ben Crenshaw is 70. And Naomi Judd is 76. And that, Mark, is today was the day.
Couple of omissions. Today in 1964, the Whiskey Go-Go opens on Sunset Boulevard. Maybe one of the great music venues in our land. 67, Hendrix recorded Purple Haze. 92, 2 things happened. Nirvana, Nevermind hits #1 the same night that they appeared on SNL. And at that point, grunge had made its way to the top. My omissions for today, which leads us to...
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
You know, we go to Maryland, where Jake Denyon was heading back to college, and he realized in the snow that he had lost his wallet. Had his Christmas money, his college money, his ID, and all that stuff. They couldn't find it. Much to their surprise, as he was getting ready to head back to South Carolina, the doorbell rang. That's when a man who plows snow found the wallet and delivered the wallet to the doorstep. It's a pretty good man right there.
Absolutely.
Both David and I think so. For the bad, well, we go to the roads, where things were bad for this whole family because, you see, husband gets a DUI, calls the wife to pick him up.
Right.
She picks him up, and then, well, she crashed her car because she was drunk.
Oh, no.
And they both end up in jail.
Well, why is he in jail?
He was already picked up for a DUI.
Well, but I mean, he was just sitting in the passenger seat. It's tough to blame him for that one.
The ugly, we go to the gritty streets of Naples, where Kelly Haney of Indiana was driving down Fifth Avenue at an art festival. She drove a golf cart through police barricades used to block off 8th Street at Cambridge Park.
Can't do that.
Then a lieutenant tried to get her to stop. That's when she ran over the officer's foot.
Oh.
She failed field sobriety tests, admitted to having 2 glasses of champagne, and now has a DUI for operating a drunk golf cart. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, this 11th of January, 2022.
6 games in the NBA tonight, and none of them have yet to be canceled. The headliners, probably Golden State at Memphis. It's on NBA TV if you're interested. NHL, both in-state teams are playing tonight. 2 games have already been canceled. There are 7 that they're going to try to play. Tampa's in Buffalo, and the Panthers are hosting the Canucks. College hoops tonight. Full slate tonight. Because, you know, they didn't schedule the ranked team. Usually Monday's a big night for college basketball, but I mean, somebody actually paid attention to, hey, it's the college football national title game. Maybe we should put this off
Skip a few of these.
Right. So Auburn and Alabama are both ranked, and they're playing each other in basketball. It's 9:00 on ESPN. Got USC in action this afternoon, actually, 5:00 on the Deuce. They're one of 2 unbeatens. Baylor's in action at 7 on the Deuce. All right. Kentucky's playing. Purdue, Michigan's already postponed.
That's 2 in a row for Michigan. They're having a serious issue. They had to cancel against Michigan State on Saturday, and now the Purdue game. So 2 games against top 10 teams that the Wolverines have been forced to miss.
And we'll see whether or not the FGC women are ranked in the coaches poll today. I think they will be. They moved up 2 spots from 28 to 26 in the AP yesterday. They were 26th in the coaches poll. I think they get back in the top 25.
Are they good enough to win every game but the last one and get an at-large pick? I'm not good enough. Are they going to get it would be the better question.
I think they would because they beat LSU at LSU, who's ranked 12th in the country right now. So I think they would get an at-large. Miller and Moulton, have a great rest of your day. We'll talk again tomorrow.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at